Hello, and welcome to the Humanity, where we do the things with the stuff for the people. I am Matt.
And I'm Tommy. And tonight, since I just today realized that it's Autistic Pride Day and we're still in the middle of Pride Month, figured, hey, let's talk about both because intersectionality and
Bum, bum,
such.
bum, bum, bum.
And and also, I'd like to welcome back to the show Matt in an actual chair,
I'm in a chair.
all upright and shit.
I have a throw pillow for back support.
Yay!
Yeah.
Also,
Also, my camera is shit tonight for some reason.
yeah.
I just look
Even though
I'm fuzzy. Also, it's washing me out, and I just look like I've got a very wide torso right now. For some reason, it's just like, nah, I'm just flat down here. I'm like a cookie, flat and wide.
but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty proud of our shirt choices here tonight. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so yeah, yeah. Here, risk injuring your back again to show everyone your.
It has a sign and a guy, a stick figure, looking at it, going, "Well," and the sign says "bad," and he says, "Well, that's not a good sign."
So mine probably read most of it. It says trade rights are human rights, but oh, see, this is why we talk about shirts. The people love it. So
Excellent.
yeah, and hello, Chris. Good
How
to
do you
see
do?
you as always. But yeah, also since we're talking both like LGBTQIA plus like that kind of Pride Month stuff and Autistic Pride Day stuff, I also thought this was a perfect shirt to represent both because one, for the like trans rights aspect, but also for the autist, which am myself. It's great because not only is like the material itself just very nice and cozy, but also there was no tag
No tag.
that I had, so I didn't have to rip that out because they bugged the shit out of me. So because sensory issues, so yeah,
Yeah, I'm surprised this one doesn't bother me because it's definitely crispy and pokey.
well now that I made you think about it, so well let's distract you a little bit and talk about
There's a
what
sticker
we're
on it that's now on my hand.
live updates. So yep, see, Chris knows what's up. Always rip the tags.
Yeah.
Yes. So all right. So well, what you drinking tonight, Matt?
Still the ginger beer, Harborman ginger beer, spicy.
Ooh.
Uh, Hopefully in a week or two I'll be able to do beer, but I have to be not
Nice.
on not taking the nerve medicine and the muscle relaxer, which I don't take all the time. That one's mostly at night now.
Hmm.
But if I mix them with alcohol, supposedly I can fall too much asleep. Like it can decrease your breathing rate,
Yeah,
which is
that sounds bad.
yeah, it's not a good time. I hear.
Though I don't know. I mean, breathing like that does get kind of old, like doing it all the time. So if I could do it like a little less, honestly.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking
Uh,
about it. Now I'm going to be thinking about breathing until I suddenly forget and it keeps going by itself.
Yay. Man, speaking of forgetting, I was about to say a thing. Oh, also, for anyone watching, if you wouldn't mind in the chat, let us know how our audio levels are. Because before the show, I did a little tweaking to try to level the two of us out. But the way I have this set up, like the intelligent former professional audio person that I am, I don't have it routed so I can actually hear both of us. I only hear Matt, so I have no idea how, like, relative to each other, our volumes are. I only notice, like, if I go back and watch the show later, it's like, oh, I seem louder for some reason. And I'm not sure it's just the
Yes.
alcohol. So.
Yeah, so let us know.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so for me, drinking a beer that I'm surprised, I don't think I've ever had before, but like I picked
Really?
up myself a 6 pack of this for Father's Day over the weekend. Yeah, White Raja by Brew Kettle here in Ohio, but different parts up like the Northeast, kind of Akron, Cleveland area. but yeah, apparently, as far as like American IPAs go, I mean, I know this is one I've heard of a lot. It's apparently just like one of the like more iconic ones. But
Hmm.
so yeah, like I figured, might as well. And yeah, I really like it. So
I think it used to have a different. Maybe it was in a bottle before. The label was different.
yeah, because I remember seeing it, but I don't see it as often. But also, thanks, Chris, for letting us know we sound good. So, but yeah, also, I just don't remember seeing it in stores very much. But yeah, even when I did, I remember it looking different. But yeah,
Oh, whoops!
it's just
This might sound even better now because I had a
ooh.
sorry, I had a setting on my mic where it was picking up like the entire room instead of focused on
Oh,
me.
okay. Yeah, see, I thought it was that, but I thought it was more because you were just sitting back a little more, so it was like trying harder. But yeah,
Yeah, so
so
it should be better now.
yeah, so Chris or whoever else is out there, let us know if that changed anything too drastically. Um, but yeah, it's tasty. Also got the my second drink for tonight is the other beer I got for myself for Father's Day. Um, it's beer I get myself for Father's Day almost every year. But
Which
guesses
one's
in the
that?
chat for what? Well, I'm gonna say guesses in the chat. See what it is. It's one of my favorite beers ever, but one I don't get nearly often enough. And they sell it in tall boys 6 packs for a stupid low price. So I
Well, I have a
really don't know
guess
why
then.
I. So I really don't know why I don't get it more often. And I have also been described as the
So
name of this beer, I'm sure, on several occasions, and I
that I
love it.
know
That
what it
knows
is
what
for
it is.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not White Raja, but anywho, um, yeah, other things before we get into the topics tonight. So I had a fun over the weekend. A couple things that were cool over the weekend as far as things in the YouTube land. We On Friday, I got to hang out with our buddy BS Lewis on his channel. He was doing a live stream, which he didn't say at the time, but apparently was a 1,000 subscriber kind of celebration live stream thing.
Oh,
So, congrats to BS.
he gets
Yeah,
monetized
really.
now, doesn't he?
I don't know. Hmm.
Good luck with that.
Well,
His
well,
videos
if
are
he
midnight.
does, well, if he does, he can send me a little cut for being on the. Well, I guess me being on the stream, he was already at 1K, so I guess I didn't actually help him get there. So never mind. But yeah, it was fun at least for the most part. I felt like first of all, it was like really long, and it was also really late, at least for me, because like BS is out in California, but me being over here in Ohio land, like 3 hours ahead. So I ended up, I think the stream ended up going until like at least 1 a.m. our time, but then I stayed up even later chatting with some of the other people. I think there was, if I remember their names right, Deconstructing Man. He was on for the majority, at least the first part of the show. Like
Mhm.
BS was reviewing a debate that he had done recently, which was interesting. Um, with a
Yeah,
couple Christians talking about like biblical morality or something. I jumped on the stream late as
he
I
did
tend to
well.
do with his stuff.
They
Yeah.
did not. I don't think they knew that.
Oh yeah, the Christians he was debating, yeah, they typically don't. Um but yeah, that's something like we mentioned before. We'd love that BS on the channel sometime. One of the things I'd love to talk with him about is the syllogism he's developed for the problem of evil. And I don't want to give it away, like mostly because like I don't want to butcher it, because like the way he put it all together, like it's really solid. I really like it. But then later joined, so then I hopped on later because like he opened up like for people to hop on. So I figured, oh, I'll hop on. I'm a person. I was also joined by Zach from the Shaken Fist, also new friend. Me and him actually, after the stream was over, even after like BS and the other people left, we were just kind of hanging out after. Me and him like ended up talking for like at least a good like half hour or so after. So yeah, it was good to get to know him. Um, yeah, also joined by someone who goes by the handle Missing Mod. Had a interesting, I guess, debate or discussion with her, which was,
It wasn't so
yeah,
much of a debate.
it was kind of a joke. I guess she kind of jokingly in the chat said something about like she'd love to debate me. She'd like make me change my mind and want to come back or whatever. She's a Christian, by the way. So So that was interesting. But I feel like I maybe got a little more, I don't know, intense or serious, I guess, than I maybe intended to. Partially just for being super tired after a long day and like 3 beers in. I think I just like lost all filter. And I think, as I said to BS, like I think it became very apparent that I'm not used to like actually talking to people. But yeah, it was. And but I did notice Missing Mod actually subscribed to the channel. So if you're watching, thanks, and I'm sorry, or I don't know. It was
Yeah, I
yeah.
subscribed to her channel too.
Oh, cool. Oh, I did not, but
When's, oh, no offense to her. I'm not that interested in watching that. But I mean, I think I will. It's just,
yeah,
it's not up my street.
yeah, makes sense. Oh, but speaking of subscribers, at least on the YouTube side, we're up to 49. So
Woot.
if
Woot,
if
woot.
you so I figure if anyone has another friend or enemy that you want to try to convince to subscribe to get us to that 50 mark, hey, maybe we'll do like a special like 50 subscriber thing, or we'll wait and just do it for some really random number like 64 or something. Yep. So
it'll be a surprise celebration episode.
Yeah.
Or we'll celebrate 50, but it'll be in a little bit. Like, yeah. We'll celebrate the past number.
Yeah, we'll celebrate 50 like once we get to like 100 or something. Yeah. It's like, remember 50? Like, we're trying to like keep ourselves humble and grounded, you know? Oh, but one of the fun things, I guess, that happened on the show, I guess in more than one way, I accidentally made it sound like I was possibly a white supremacist.
What?
Was the only one I remember was, okay, so in the debate.
What happened?
Well, let me cook. In the debate that BS was doing, one of the Christians, there was this lady, I can't remember her name, but she kept referring to herself as a child of God. Like, but when she was talking about like what it means to be a Christian, she was saying like, I'm a child of God, I'm a child of God. She kept saying that over and over again, as if it, and I don't remember the exact context she was always using it, but in some ways it almost like she was using that almost like she was making a point by saying that. And so as we were watching it, I was just like, well, well, then I'm like a son of Odin. So, which apparently, I guess Sons of Odin is some sort of like white nationalist group or something. I was just saying it because I dig Viking stuff, just in a normal, non-white supremacist kind of way, more of a nerdy kind of thing. So, and, I listen to a lot of bands like Amon Amarth and Enslaved and stuff who talk about such things. So that was just top of mind when I said that.
Yeah.
So
that's one of those things that can go either way. Where like you were making a point that should be obvious based on the context.
Mm-hmm.
BS's video might have gotten the attention of YouTube a bit because you mentioned
well, BS pointed it out, like him or like somebody else said something like, "Oh, Tommy's a white nationalist," or something. But I think even in trying to like correct or clarify, I may have even said something else that could have been interpreted that way. So I just kept digging the hole. And like next thing I know, Derek Lambert from Myth Vision's calling me to have me on his show, and zing.
Well, no, you'd have to get threatened with cancellation first.
That's true.
Which
is by the way, anyone
people saying, I don't like what you're saying, I'm going to boycott you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But by the way, if anyone has no idea what I was talking about, just there with like Myth Vision was like, well, Tommy, I had no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds hilarious. Go back a few weeks ago. I don't remember how, like 3 or 4 episodes ago, we did a reaction video to this whole drama involving like the Myth Vision podcast and Derek Lambert and all that. It's called Matt's Back, and Derek Lambert is a big, strong man.
Yeah, apparently, depending on who you are, we were either very pragmatic in our response or evil.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Evil is an exaggeration. We were considered, what were we called? Like,
someone called us misogynistic.
I did look into
Because
that about the douchebag comment.
yeah,
It can go either way. It depends who you are, really. It's
well,
not like
apparently,
an assumed thing.
yeah,
I find it hard to believe that. Find it hard to believe that someone who was defending Derek Lambert
yeah,
is up on all the things that are misogynistic and
yeah,
policing
and
that.
yeah, and I doubt they were like genuinely offended by that. That sounded
Correct.
more like they were just trying to find something to be upset about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so oh, but speaking of people who found it pragmatic, one such person also. Speaking of things that happened on YouTube over the weekend, Dr. Kip Davis on his, I think it was, yeah, on Budget Scripture Saturday, gave our show a nice little shout out, saying
Yeah,
that,
that was overwhelming.
yeah,
I was like happy and then uncomfortable.
it's like I'm uncomfortable with how happy I am,
It's like,
but
they're gonna people have expectations now.
well, hey, if it makes you feel better, it actually our subscribe count hasn't actually gone up since then. So, like, but if
Yeah,
anyone's here tonight from being sent over by Kip,
I
welcome.
mean, that is probably almost lean my head. Um,
Yeah, yeah, most things are.
my
It's kind
beard's
of
growing
how.
out. Not
Yeah,
sure if I like it. It's because it makes my face look like fuller.
I I actually like noticed like when you popped on, I didn't say anything. I apologize. I was like, "Wow, Matt's beard looks good."
Oh, thanks.
And speaking of which, I don't know if anyone can really notice, but I actually did trim mine a little bit recently because I discovered, oh, that's a thing I can actually do. Usually, my strategy is just like let it grow and like don't do anything with it because pathological demand avoidance. But then I was like, because my problem is like I mean, it's just, the whole thing that just isn't that thick to begin with, but it just gets a lot of really like scraggly wispy things go outside that get all. So I was like, so I got my little pair of scissors and like, what if I just start like actually trimming those off? Like, oh, that looks much better, at least to me. I don't know if anyone else notices anything, but
No, it's amazing. Like you do a little trim, and
mhm.
then you're like, it's a huge difference. You look in the sink and you cut hardly anything off.
Oh no, my sink was actually pretty full because that's the thing. Like, I was afraid, like if I have kind of have to stop myself,
Oh
otherwise
yeah.
I'd have like no beard left because I'm one of those people. It's like, oh, now it's slightly uneven over here. Oh, now it's shorter over there. Now I got it. Yeah. So I have to basically just give myself just like a couple minutes and be like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. So, anyway,
So, just in the back of my
and
mind while all this is going on, there we might have a World War III. We're like the closest now than we've ever been.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
problem with a World War III is that pretty much no one's entirely sure it doesn't end in an apocalypse.
right.
um,
Yeah, because we're definitely armed enough for one amongst all parties involved. So
yeah, I'm not sure if you can say the full word N bomb on YouTube without it being a problem, but
yeah,
there's
I don't either.
there's tactical versions, which is more like battlefield use. It can still take out. Hearing fuzz. Is that only on my end that I'm hearing
Yeah,
interference or something?
I wasn't hearing anything,
Okay.
but
Um. Shit. What was he saying?
and
Oh.
the comment from Chris from about 15 minutes ago still says sounds good. So
All right. So there's tactical versions, and then there's strategic, and this strategic ones I think are like the giant ones, or maybe it's the other way around. There's two versions. There's the small ones, the friendly ones, in quotes, and there's a version of thinking some people are like, well, we can use those and it won't escalate. It'll just stay there because nobody wants to use the big ones. Problem is the big ones are the backstop to having the small ones just like go off all over the place. Yeah. And the worst person we know is the one making the decision about whether or not World War III potentially happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which that's why I love all the people who like were voting for Trump because like, oh, he's the peace candidate. Like,
Well, here's the thing: like only I think it's only 16% of the American people are in favor of of doing this,
yeah,
and it's. But at the same time, that's like a similar number to what it was for the first. No, for the second Iraq War.
oh well, if you wanted some good news, the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. The apocalypse has been canceled. No, I remember seeing. I haven't been watching the Stanley Cup final. I actually haven't been following the NHL for a while because I'm a Blue Jackets fan. Um,
Yeah,
so, but yeah. So I remember seeing that the Oilers lost, so I was happy for Dr. Kip here. But I am just very specifically a huge non Brad Marchand fan. So I was disappointed to see Florida win just for that. But
I don't know who that is, but I think it's funny. But I'm a little vendetta.
well, it's more like I mean he's a very good player. Like he is like talent wise he is really good, but just as a person, the guy is an absolute dick. Like during the games, like he'll just do random weird. I remember like one game in particular. I remember when they were playing the Blue Jackets, they were like in the face-off circle, like him and Cam Atkinson were standing outside the circle, and then while they were standing there, he literally just took his skate and just kicked the end of Atkinson's stick and broke the end off of it. Like he'll just do like dumb shit like that. Like, yeah, it's
Does
like,
that even get you like a penalty?
yeah, I don't know if it did, but yeah. But yeah, I don't remember what actually happened. I just remember being super annoyed. But all right. Ooh,
Lewinsky has some interesting talking points.
yeah. Let's see. Let's see. When it comes to war, it's immoral to prop up a people, Ukrainians, to fight a war they can't win, no matter how moral their cause. They need to be.
Wow, you seem like a pro-Russian troll.
Yeah. Anyway, but other news, but I'll have to make sacrifices to keep the cup out of Edmonton. So, which, hey, if that's what it takes, I mean, at this point, I'm all about like keeping our like Canadian friends happy. Just, no, it's like we all may need a place to escape to. So
Yeah,
as long as things are good up north, then
may your
well,
border be
except in
porous.
Edmonton, you know. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say, remind me what part of Canada you're in, Kip, as if I have any idea where any of it is, because I have your basic American geographic knowledge, which is not much. So, anywho,
I know
so
Alberta. Alberta is the Texas of Canada, and Vancouver is the Seattle of Canada.
yeah, and if I remember, like Windsor is right across from Detroit, or somewhere in Michigan. Yeah, and I know there's Niagara Falls, which is across from New York, but yeah. And I do know the falls are much prettier from the Canada side as well.
Yeah, yeah, because we didn't build a fucking casino on the Niagara Falls, you guys.
Right, right.
I mean,
Oh man.
good choice. I mean, like we made it our side of park, and you guys were like, "Ha, you're screwed."
Uh, Anywho, so topic for tonight, or topics as the case may be. Oh, okay. Outside of Vancouver, but I grew up in Calgary in the 1980s. Cool. And as I suspected, yeah, that I have no idea where any of that is, but it's something I can look up later. So I appreciate the deepening of the lore, as it were.
Southwest. Vancouver is very southwest.
No, okay. Yeah, that's what I do remember him saying. He's at least on like the West Coast, to where he's like in like Western time zone for certain things, which is why Budget Scripture Saturday this week was a little late for my energy levels. But speaking of which, I don't know if you were on yet, Kip, but thanks for the shout out you gave us this past Saturday. That was really
Mhm.
cool. Really appreciate that. Um, let's see.
So we're talking. It's Pride Month. It's
Yeah.
also Autistic Pride Day.
Yeah, which I just found out today was a thing.
And there's an overlap,
Yay.
a big overlap,
Mm.
um,
Yes.
especially among trans people. There's a much higher than average amount of trans people percentage that are autistic um, compared to the general population. I forget what it is. I should know this because
Hmm.
we're talking about it.
That's right. I'm trying to look it up because
Okay.
I had some pages that I had opened with some of that information, but internet's being kind of weird. Also, um, we had some storms moving through the area, so and I think we may be getting more later. So if
Yeah, they're pretty
if
strong.
yeah, if I just like disappear or blow away or things get dark, that's what's going. Yes, Kip says Budget Scripture Saturday is a late night show. Sorry. I mean, time zones aren't your fault. At least I assume they're not.
I mean, if they are, how'd you do that?
And how dare you? And show me how. Um, all right. So let's see. So I also for people, but if I'm a little slow on the draw with looking up stuff, I did leave a link in the show description for I think it was just from autism.org, like a link on their page for they have like a bunch of different links to different research and information about the links between being LGBTQIA plus and being autistic. So please check that out. Let's see. So yeah, Matt, talk while I try to look at numbers.
Just different than typical sexuality is especially common among autistic people. Uh, and so while people are dealing with all the problems that are happening in our country because of persecution or the beginning of persecution for different gender identities and sexualities, um, on top of that, they're processing all this, a large number of them, as autistic people. And autistic people can have elevated fight or flight responses to different kinds of things. We also tend to pick up on kind of the vibes in a room to a much greater degree than typical people, to the point where it is like a burden to be around somebody who is not just negative, but intent on causing someone harm. You know, even if it's just some kind of shunning or yeah, it's especially detrimental.
Yeah. Now you also must have some kind of mind reading power because I was literally just about to mention this, and thank you for doing that show. So yes, this was a few months ago, maybe like
I
sometime
haven't
in the
watched it. I
spring.
keep forgetting to.
Yeah, yeah, it's really good. Yeah, he had John Macney, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's the host of this podcast called Christianity on the Spectrum, and yeah, you had a great interview with him. I guess he's one of the only, or at least maybe the only person who, at least to the extent that he has, um, done research on the basically the link between autism and either just like leaving Christianity or like the issues that autistic people have with Christianity. And like, this was really good. And as he said on the show, and this is the reaction he gets a lot, like when he was describing a lot of the reasons that people with autism have problems with Christianity and how a lot end up leaving or even like become atheists, such as myself. It's like, it sounds like you're telling my story, dude. And it's weirding me out.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, but that was really good. So I definitely recommend people go to Dr. Kip's channel, look up that episode, and just look up Christianity on the Spectrum. I know it's on YouTube. I want to say it's also on Spotify. I don't remember what other podcast platforms it was on. Yeah, I listened to the first couple episodes. It was really good. and this is maybe something they like cover later, because like John, he's a Christian, and I think the lady who was co-host with him, at least for some of the episodes, also a Christian. I don't remember like what denominations or whatever, but like I said, it was really good. Like I said, I only listened to the first couple episodes, so maybe this is something they address and talk about more later. But my one of my concerns was when they were talking about like why people with autism end up leaving Christianity. I'm not saying this is necessarily the approach they were taking, but I could see how a lot of what they were saying could be taken by other Christians, like in the spirit of, oh, well, once we figure out what the autistic people's problems are with Christianity and how better to communicate with them, we might be able to convince them to come back. Or maybe it's like, well, the only reasons they're finding these problems is because they're autistic. So if we like solve that for them and explain it differently, then, but I'm like, I don't know. What if we're finding problems because there actually are problems and y'all just aren't noticing it? But
Yeah, the
let's
problems that
see.
we tend to have are pretty fundamental.
Yeah. Right. So speaking of the study that John did, yeah, largest study of its kind in the English speaking world, over 20,000 participants. Yeah. And also on Spotify. So check it out. Like I said, like that was just like my take and like my concern with it. But overall, yeah, this, I think it was a really cool show. Like I said, very interesting. Like I said, I probably should go back and maybe listen to more of it. But yeah, because I've also had that experience, like even like with other like Christians and even like some pastors that I was talking to like about this issue, and it seemed like their approach was almost, again, not that they were actually like necessarily saying it this way, but I almost felt like it was them just trying to figure out how to solve the problem and make, so like, oh, then we'll make autistic people like Christianity again. And I'm like, eh. Maybe like your first approach should be like, when these people with autism say they have problems with Christianity, like just consider maybe they have a point. That's kind of,
Yeah, instead of trying to convince
yeah,
them that there isn't a problem.
yeah. And I think this is,
It's kind of like, how can we
sorry, go ahead.
gaslight you best?
Right. And I think this is something we discussed several episodes back, or episode like what we want Christians to know. Like this was one of the things. I think
Yeah.
also more specifically, we did an episode like Christianity versus autism, which was very much inspired by John and his show and that episode that he did with Kip, which was really good. So yeah, Kip, thanks for doing that. By the way, it was very not typical, at least for like the kind of shows you usually do, but it was really cool. Really glad
Well, it
you did.
makes sense.
Oh,
An autistic guy was the main guest.
yeah,
For it to not be typical.
right.
No, I did watch that, actually, now that I'm remembering.
Cool.
Yeah. And it was nice that he's not your average Christian YouTuber or podcaster.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, he's not really trying to convince anybody exactly, other
yeah.
than that the data is real.
Right. And also, speaking of like his approach towards like non Christians or atheists, like I guess he actually used to be atheist himself, and I remember him like on Kip's show at least saying like he's really not trying to convince anyone like that Christianity is true or something they should convert to. He's like this. He's like this is a very personal thing for me, like especially my fellow autists. I don't know if he put it that way, but fellow autistic people who were atheists. He's like, I get it, like I understand, because like you know he was there himself, but yeah, I think like especially when he started talking about like how one of our biggest problems is with apologetics, because while we are Christians, we tend to really get into apologetics because it's like, oh, try to a way to try to make logical sense of this, but then the problem is we get really into it and realize, oh, this doesn't actually make logical sense. Or the way I like to put it is like, so apologetics uses a lot of what are called thought stopping techniques. But for a lot of autistic people, at least from my experience, like thought stopping techniques don't actually stop our thoughts because you kind of can't. But
And if it does, it's
so,
I think it causes us more damage than normal, because
yeah.
we're aware of the cognitive dissonance, even if not
Hmm.
fully, and so it ends up causing us emotional challenges, maybe like increased levels of self-loathing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The cognitive dissonance was another huge piece that he talked about. How it just keeps building and building and building. Like for us, like the pressure just becomes like more intense. And yeah, because that's one of the things that like always bugged me with like so many Christians who were just fine with things not making sense and being mysterious. I'm like, this is like even before like I realized I was autistic, I was like, how are you fine with this? Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so while you were talking, I found some numbers. Getting back to, unless there was more on that before we got back to the whole like autism, LGBTQ links. So, but real quick,
This is an interesting.
apparently, like, end live now to avoid account suspension. From
Did
alert.
did Russian bots find us? What the hell?
All right. I'll just do an old blockaroo. All right, but so the me neither. I'm assuming this is referring to trying to convince people one way or the other. So yeah, I get and yeah, I've seen this happen to Kip a lot. Kip says I get accused of attacking the Bible and trying to
Yeah.
deconvert Christians all the time, but Kip happens to have a T-shirt that would beg to differ. Have you seen that that T-shirt that I don't know?
No.
Yeah, it's but yes, that did sound ominous. But yeah, he has a T-shirt. I think it's live, and Kip, let me know, and feel free to leave a link to your store in the comments. It's selling a T-shirt. It just says "I fucking love the Bible," and you can get it where it actually has the fucking like spelled out or like the censored version.
Yeah.
Or say this is the kind you can wear to church. Also, there's like a Metal Moses T-shirt, which is pretty awesome. But yeah. So, but anything else on that front before?
No.
See if
I thought I'd
All
have
right.
more.
Well, all right, it is in the store. All right, thanks, Kip. So yeah, go to Kip Davis's channel, and I'm sure he has a link somewhere for his store. Probably in his. If it's not in the description, it's probably in some of his videos. So just watch a video, and it'll be there in the description. So, ooh, let's see. So James here, I don't like that word apologists, a slur amongst atheists, because it suggests Christians should apologize for their beliefs. Well, that's only if you don't understand the Greek
means.
root. And no, if you know the slur from among atheists is excusagists, if anything.
Yeah.
But
That's also a funny term.
Yeah.
So no, not really a slur. I mean, we might say you might hear a tone in our voice when we say apologist because they kind of all do the same thing and repeat each other. So like we're a little tired of them.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like it's an actual word that is referring to an actual thing, but like but there's a lot of people who don't like what that thing is. So when they say the word, it's gonna come across a certain way. It's like how people like will use the term like socialist as a pejorative, but like socialism is a legit like political point of view, but people just use it also as a pejorative. But
apologists also refer to themselves as apologists. So
right.
I don't know.
Now, I don't know exactly what you mean by every word has its scent, but if that's a cool new way to talk about
word has its scent.
But if that's a cool new way to talk about language, like I'm not being sarcastic. Like I love new ways to talk about things, different words. So if that's a thing, and if I understand what it means, I might start using that. Oh, that word has a scent. That actually does like sound really cool. I'm not like giving you shit or anything. Yeah. Anyway, but speaking of the numbers and studies and stuff, so if people check out the link I put in the description, that website just gives like a whole list of resources like videos, research papers, reports, all this stuff. So what I'm looking at here is from the transmitter. It's a Gender and Sexuality and Autism Explained. So according to this, it's referencing some studies. Let's see, one of the most frequently cited studies found that about 50% of autistic adults in the Netherlands identify as trans or non-binary. So as a like so proportionately like that's like a higher percentage than just like the general population.
Hmm. How much was
Um,
it? What percentage?
15, 1-5.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
By contrast, less than 5% of adults in the Netherlands general population have an identity other than cisgender. So it's like
3
basically
times at
amongst the,
least.
yeah, 3 times. Yeah. All right. Oh, so apparently, yes, scent, as in what other words and concepts it's associated with. Huh. Well, that's cool. Thanks for giving me a new wrinkle in my brain, James. I may have to start using such phraseology. Yeah. But yes, I so Kip here knows a bunch of apologists who are very sensitive about the term. It makes me smile. Yeah, me too.
That's kind of funny because I don't know
In
that many
in real time.
atheists who have made the joke about like apologists or apologizing for their faith. It just seems so
Yeah.
lame to make that joke. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
maybe the apologists got real sensitive about being. I don't know. Maybe it's an awareness they are apologizing for their faith a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess I would say like on my better days, or I guess on the days where I'm trying to make it look like I'm in my better days, I would say like, oh, I don't want to offend anyone. But if I'm completely honest, like making apologists annoyed, it doesn't really bother me. So all right. But back to studies here. So in 2018, a study in the United States, 6.5% of autistic adolescents and 11.4% of autistic adults said they wished to be the gender opposite of what they had been assigned with the birth, compared to just 3 to 5% of the general population. So yeah, it looks like that's at least kind of somewhere between 2 to 3 times the number.
That's
Yeah.
significant.
So yeah, and also the study also found that on two measures of autism traits, higher scores were associated with a higher likelihood of gender diversity. So yeah. So all that to say, like, and again, like, please, like, check out the link I put in the description. You can see like a lot more. But all that to say, like, there's apparently some kind of link, like, happening between being autistic, or I think even like other forms of neurodivergent, and
Yeah.
being a member of like the LGBTQIA plus community. I think there was like for some reason I'm thinking there was some kind of like specific or maybe like stronger connection, like specifically in the like transgender community. But if I'm remembering correctly, but that may or may not be true. But yeah, thank
Oh,
you.
good.
Yeah,
I'm glad that's super interesting.
yeah, because we apparently super interestinged ourselves into an awkward pause.
Yeah,
So
I was kind of like, oh no, I'm either not thinking about anything or so many things I can't pick it out.
yeah, and practically like what's the difference? So yeah, so
So, just breaking news: Trump called a Situation Room meeting that was reported on an hour ago.
mm,
Uh, says he's out of patience with Iran. So, so
man, yeah. So it's and remember back when he like tweeted that like Obama was going to try to attack Iran because of his like failing poll numbers.
I know who does that.
Like, like they say with these conservatives, like every accusation is a confession. So
Yeah. Well, you know he's just doing what people don't want him to do now. He's like in
yeah,
his fuck everybody mode. Uh,
yeah. Which that's one of the things like I was kind of afraid of, like coming off of the like No Kings protest. But by the way, maybe we should talk about that to kind of lift our spirits a little bit. Like the No Kings like rallies over the weekend,
yeah,
fucking awesome. So
yeah. Even in Cincinnati, we had they reported 1,000 people, but I saw the picture. It looked more like
oh
two
yeah,
at least.
that was more than 1,000, which I unfortunately couldn't go to because like my son who plays baseball, like he had a double header that day, like scheduled literally over the entire time of that the protests were taking place. But yeah, super impressive. Like, and I think one of the big deals about, I guess, a couple big stories from the day. One, because as people also know, um, so I. So I'm assuming this was sent as like a sarcastic comment when we were talking about not so great things. But now that we are talking about great things, I'm going to assume this is like for real. Like, and you're right, Kip. That is great. Um, I'm just being creative with the source material, as it were. Um, so, but yeah, a couple of things. So as people know, like early, like very early that morning, there were the two like state legislatures in Minnesota who were attacked, and one of them and their spouse ended up being killed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
That's
it
a
was a
wild
huge
story, by the
deal.
way. About
It was what?
there's a never mind. This is going to be a tangent.
All right, but yeah, and I was also impressed to see there was like an international presence, but yeah, with international protests as well. But they had a No Kings protest in Canada, which is hilarious since yes, you do technically have a king, but
Well, he didn't want us to have a king.
still, yeah, and we appreciate that. And
Yeah,
like I said, still we find your situation far preferable. Um,
yeah, because at least
even
your
with the
king
king,
like isn't really allowed to do that much.
yeah, because I understand like even Norway apparently even like still has a king, but I if weren't for like multiple reasons, like I'd if I could, like I'd probably move to Norway in a heartbeat right now. But mostly because I mean their music's way better over there. But I mean think so for people. So Matt, you know the band Dimmu Borgir.
Not exactly.
And anyway, so Norwegian black metal band. So not exactly what you would consider like a chart topper. But here's how different like the music scene is in Norway. For people who aren't familiar with black metal, like look it up. It's my absolute favorite, but most people's absolute not favorite if they've even heard of it. But this is how much I love Norway. There was a time where like Dimmu Borgir, a black metal band, was the biggest band in the entire country. Like that's how much better their taste in music is over there.
Well,
Yeah. Now this sounds like something that costs us nothing. We just ignore them. It's not terrible. That I could get down with that. Um, but anyway, so yeah, but go back to Minnesota and like given the situation of like what happened like literally early that morning, they still had an amazing turnout there, including a friend of mine, Caitlin, who was there and was like posting pictures and stuff, like giving updates. Like I was really cool to see. So specific props to the people of Minnesota for showing up and showing out. So, oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, music is better, and so that is one other thing I appreciate about Dr. Kip's like videos and live streams, like the intro and outro music. I mean, as much as I love our show's music, I mean, Kip's his is right up there. Though, but I will say, Kip, as much as I definitely appreciate the addition of the Gojira on the outro, I do kind of miss the Circle of Dust, but that's just me. But
I do know Gojira.
yes, and how like it's the he uses the song. See, I forget what it's actually called. If it's called Mea Culpa or Asara or both, but it's basically the what they performed at the Olympic opening ceremonies, which is like one of the greatest moments in metal history. So,
I still haven't watched
ooh.
that.
Oh, you should look it up. It's
I don't know why I haven't.
yeah, neither do I. Kvelertak. I've heard of them, but or maybe I have heard them. I don't know. It's so because part of my problem with like getting into like black metal, even though it's like my favorite genre, like I don't really actually know anyone else like in real life who was also in into that. So like I have plus also my probably like into my early 20s, like I was growing up very like I only listen to Christian music. So and then so like once I started listening to secular music and I started getting interested in like more black metal, like your Emperors, your Mayhems, Dimmu Borgirs, like I just had like no idea what to even look at. So it's basically ever since getting like a music subscription, I have Apple Music. Like there's just so much out there, so I'm like slowly working my way through it. Copyright strikes.
No way.
Which that's weird. I'm surprised that that's more of an issue with like such a small band like Circle of Dust, but not with Gojira. That is fascinating. But yes, Asai Ra. That's it. Cool. But yeah, great song. Like I said, I mean, I'm not disappointed that that's what you replaced it with at all. But anyway, so yeah, huge props to the people of Minnesota for showing up. Special shout out to my friend Caitlin.
Oh,
But
I've been hearing a lot more about from former military, current military people with the parade. Um, that was a message to. That was the U.S. Army sending a message to like all other military people watching, because that was the schlubbiness of it all. And they practiced for like a few hours or maybe like an hour before the parade. And this is normally something that like pretty much as soon as you know there's going to be a parade, you get the choreography going, like who's going to be where when, and then you start drilling immediately for like weeks, right? The fact that it was hours at most indicates that like from the very top down, the general who was in charge of the parade, from that level down, they said fuck it. I mean, that was a collective, like the group of them going, yeah, we don't do this. And so they didn't.
Yeah, which, man, I'd shout out to them too.
I mean, and then I was paying attention to even more stuff. Like the guy holding the drone walking down the street, everybody said how lame that was. He can drive a drone down the street in the air. I mean, he can thread a needle with that thing. That's his job. And he's not going to fly it down the street. He's like, no. The coolest thing? Fuck you. It's in my hand.
Props.
Yeah.
But yes, like definitely some comedy gold. Like probably one of my favorite things. This is actually like my new favorite thing in the entire world was the squeaky tank.
Yeah.
Like I just want to watch that on a loop just forever. Like that squeaky tank needs to become like the mascot of this administration, I think.
Oh
like,
man.
just,
And you know the people
so fucking perfect.
And you know the people who maintain those know where the squeak's coming from, right? It's just another little protest. That was super obvious. They started unrolling that off the thing, off the flatbed they brought it in on. They're like, oh, it's squeaky as hell. And then they don't do anything about it.
And they're like, actually, how can we make it worse? So I start loosening some things. Like,
there was one officer who saluted with his left hand when they went past Trump or when they turned and faced him. That's not what you do. You never do that. It's automatic, right hand every time. You have to make a conscious effort to do it with your left hand. And then if you look at the videos of Pete Hegseth, he was staring off into a void as the parade was going past. He was like, I'm so dead. It's like, I'm going to get fired if I'm lucky.
Yeah, if we're lucky. But
this is a parade of insubordination. So, that the good news is the Army, at least, is not on board for the dictator stuff. And they were probably really not on board about going to war with Iran. Because a ground war with Iran can't be won, basically. It's too big. There's this too spread out. There's mountainous areas. Like you can't do what they want to do without using. They keep saying bunker buster, but if your sole nuclear facility, the one you're hanging everything on, right? Like it needs to survive if you're going to have any kind of potential nuclear program in the future. I think it's going to be buried far enough in that mountain where it is in Forma or whatever it is. That's not the name of it. Anyway, there's a city. I think it starts with an F. That's where their main lab is. It's in a mountain, and that's the one that they have to get. That has to be destroyed if their nuclear program is going to be completely destroyed. It sounds like the only way to completely do that would be one of those lower yield weapons, which is uh, a nuclear weapon. And Pakistan said if the U.S. launches a nuclear weapon, Pakistan will launch one at U.S. Probably U.S. bases in the area. But now we have the first nuclear exchange in history.
Yay. But, all right, so Kip, you are technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. Correct that only Congress has the power to declare war. But here's the thing: from my understanding, the last time Congress actually declared war, at least like as far as like the U.S. is concerned, I think was World War II. So
everything else was a police action of some kind.
Yeah, police action. Yeah, or just the president being like, War Powers Act.
It's our version of a special military operation, as the Russians call it.
Mm-hmm. So,
but dropping a giant bomb on Iran, I think everybody in Congress is pretty clear that that is an act of war. The problem is there don't seem to be enough of them at the moment to make us think about it. Most of Congress, including Democrats, seem to be okay going to war with Iran. So somebody has dirt on a lot of people in Congress. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, probably true. But speaking of which, did you see? I saw a clip from an interview. Like Tucker Carlson was interviewing Ted Cruz. Did you see?
Oh, this? I did see those clips.
Which I did not like. So first of all, just hearing the phrase Tucker Carlson is interviewing Ted Cruz, like I can't think of anything I am less interested in seeing. But
yeah, just verbally polish each other's knobs for an hour.
Yeah, but Carlson was actually doing journalism. Like he was being like a journalist and actually pressing him and like calling him out on stuff and and Cruz, I don't know if he kind of accidentally admitted on air that the U.S. was involved or how much we were involved or whatever.
He did, but yeah, we were definitely helping, and there are some planes that can't make it all the way to Iran and back without being refueled on the way there, which means U.S. help because I don't think Israel has air tankers.
Yeah, but I was simultaneously impressed with Carlson for being like that, but also so annoyed, thinking like, wait, he knows how to do this, and he could have been doing this like the whole time, but instead we've got regular Tucker Carlson. So I was kind of pissed about that. Now
he called Fox News a propaganda channel.
Yeah,
they might have for the first one.
Yeah, I mean that could be. Which I mean, of course, like leave it to a Canadian to be more aware of American history than an American. But also, in my defense, I was like 7 at the time.
I was in junior high in a very red area. We had classroom activities to support the troops.
Yeah. I was in 2nd grade. How old are you in 2nd grade? Like 8? I don't know. But
you got me.
Got myself. Yeah.
So yes, technically Congress has to declare war, but right now it looks like the president can if nobody stops him.
Oh yeah, I mean, technically, yeah, the president can do whatever he wants if no one else does anything about it. So, which Congress has not really shown much of an interest in doing, and neither has the Supreme Court. Well, yeah.
Here's what's crazy: like this basically puts America as a rogue actor, like as a rogue state, because based on the way our country's going right now, and everybody who's in the cabinet, along with the president, we have more in common on paper with Iran and Russia and but like we're gonna
Yeah.
fight Iran. Like they're it's kind of almost that seems like they should be more on our side. But here's the thing: like we've burned all our bridges with the countries we used to be allied with, and they're tolerating us right now. There's no real
Mhm.
support,
Yeah.
and I don't think Article 5 would be triggered if we were attacked and the rest of NATO was like, we unanimously decided you're not part of NATO anymore because they can do that. I think.
Yeah.
Can they? Can everybody unanimously, or do you have to leave on your own?
I don't know how that works, but I gotta say, like Dr. Kip, like props to your man Carney for making Trump look like an idiot on multiple occasions. We appreciate that. Ah,
Yeah.
man. So, so I guess I'll take this time to say, like, so do we want to like keep on this, and then I'll just like have to go back and readjust the show description later, or do you want to? I'm fine with either, but
I'm having a hard time pulling things to talk about from my
mm,
brain.
yeah,
Don't know why.
yeah. Like honestly, like I've been kind of feeling like leading up to this show, I was kind of feeling the same. I was like, yeah. I mean, because I think part of my problem was because like when we started like going into the month of June, like being Pride Month, I think in my mind like, oh, we'll just do like Pride Month related stuff all month. So I just kind of shut my brain off as far as like show planning. So it's like, then I was like, oh yeah, each week we still have to think of something. Maybe that's why the last 2 weeks we just kind of resorted to reacting to videos, but, which was great. Um, Also, last week I appreciated getting some. Speaking of friends on the ground in certain areas, got some great on the
Yeah.
ground updates and information from our buddy Eric Barnes, who is in the LA area. So this was before the No Kings protest, but um, in the midst of or slight aftermath of like the protests and ICE engagements and things going on in the LA area, which was a lot. Oh, but yes. Oh, but speaking of, I guess yeah, the No Kings protest. Something else I wanted to like point out that was a really big deal about the weekend. So first of all, not only was it like the largest like protest basically in American history, but I guess there's this kind of like magic number of like if you can get like 3.5%
Mm-hmm.
of the population to protest, what's that? You know what number I'm talking about? What specifically is that?
The number needed throughout history, the threshold for number of people that need to be in the streets in order to topple a dictator peacefully is 3.5%.
Yeah, which I think for the U.S. population, when I looked it up, it was about 11.7 million. Is about 3.5% of the U.S. population, and I don't know how official or how accurate these numbers, but I saw reports they're basically saying turnout for these protests was over 12 million. So
Wait, who's saying that? Because the last I heard was 5 million. I'll have to look into that because there were other.
well, I think the 5 million. What I heard was that was only the number of people who actually like registered to attend.
Okay.
But I think for the people who are actually counting like crowd sizes, this was on. I follow the like National Parks page on Facebook,
Okay.
and they seem pretty legit on a lot of stuff. And
Yeah,
they
there.
were,
I remember there was like crowd counting groups. They do that professionally to
mhm,
track like political movements and stuff, and they
yeah,
hadn't released their information yet. So maybe they have, and that's what it is.
yeah. So yeah, so that's the numbers I saw. So if that's the case, well, I mean, we did it.
Yeah.
Um, but
So now it just starts to crumble. But there's a lot of people on the right, especially Christians, who think this is the beginning of the second coming.
mm, so
Um, and so they like kind of they're in favor of an apocalypse because that's what's necessary to kind of happens at the same time as Jesus coming back. And if
Right.
if Israel can dominate Iran, then my goodness, well,
Mhm.
they can build greater Israel, which is
Yeah.
based on Bible descriptions of like how big Israel used to be, which is like rural propaganda from the time period.
Right. Right.
Makes you kind of wonder if like were the ancient Israelites, since they seemed like they kind of had a backwater kingdom and never got like real big in real life. Were they
Mhm.
kind of like a mega kingdom? Would make a lot of sense in the Old Testament
That's true. That would. Mm.
because the mega god
Yep.
is an Old
Yep.
Testament god.
Oh yeah, for
They kind
sure.
of
For
tolerate
sure.
Jesus.
Yeah. But then because they know like gospel Jesus, like yeah, he was all nice, but they know like revelation Jesus is gonna
Right,
be
right.
much
That
more
was just
like
temporary because he's
yeah.
gonna be he's gonna
See, they
yeah
want the
he's gonna do some
apocalyptic
cleansing
literature.
later.
Yeah, they're all about the apocalyptic pictures of like God and like judgment and wrath and all that. So, so yeah, it makes sense that they would be like all for like the going into Iran and all that. Like, but they're apparently completely missing like the very plain in front of their face symbolism. I mean, like speaking of Revelation, I mean, and looking at Trump, as much as like this crowd loves to compare different presidents to like the Antichrist or the Beast or whatever, like, I mean, how much clearer can you get? I mean, Revelation says of the beast and the Antichrist, or like, his followers will wear their mark on their foreheads. I mean, come on, the MAGA hats. And also, Trump, much like, I forget if it was the beast or the Antichrist or if they're different, but like, talked about them like surviving a head wound and everyone marveling at it. But yeah, as Skip says, yeah, tribal war god. And yeah,
There you go.
you would know what you're talking about. But speaking of like, so Dr. Kip, while you're on, something like I remember there was something you said, and I've referenced this on our show like several times, where you were talking about the nature of apocalyptic literature and how it's like the language of the oppressed against their oppressors, but now like all this apocalypse since Christianity is kind of in power and we're kind of identical. Not we. Damn, I haven't not been a Christian for not long enough. Apparently,
Yeah,
they're like identifying with this apocalyptic literature, but they're the ones in power, and how kind of like fucked up that's making it everything's like I know I remember hearing you talk about it, but I don't remember where. So if you can point me to a place where you talked about it, if you like wrote about it somewhere, because the only thing I can remember is it was like in the middle of some like several hours long live stream or interview or something. Or if you don't, if you wouldn't mind just making a quick little short out of it, I would appreciate that. No pressure.
go do it right now.
But yeah, I just think that's such a powerful point that you made, and it's something like I'd love to be able to like point out to people because I think it's so relevant for so many things. But yeah, no pressure. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you.
But now they are in a minority, right? Because
I
we're
hope.
kind of
Yeah.
what's considered the good guys is kind of flipping, um,
Yeah.
and
So that
they can't
so
handle it.
yeah, because so like speaking of like encouragement coming out of this past weekend, like just the juxtaposition between the No Kings protests and Trump's little birthday military parade. Well, I guess it was just the army, which someone made the point
Yeah,
like if like you'll know if this was really he tried to make this isn't about my birthday, it's about the army. It's like, well, we'll see what happens like when like the Navy and the Marines and the Air Force birthdays come up. See if he does anything with those that don't line up with his
well, it's not
birthday.
on his birthday.
But right, well, that's what I'm saying. But so,
Did
but
they
just
sang
seeing
happy birthday to him?
I didn't see that, but I
Yeah,
feel like
I don't know if it
that
was
would that would
soldiers or if
almost
it was the crowd. I think it might have been a group of soldiers saying happy birthday to him. And by the way, it sounded like some of them were
um,
singing off key on purpose. Um, and then
I
they had a
would.
guy. He he like all right. So as like the skydivers were coming in or something, somebody had like a flag they were flying behind them. Somebody had had an army flag, and somebody else had an American flag. It's part of the show they do when they come down, and so they gave the flag. They folded the flag in this nice triangle shape, and they presented it to the president as a birthday present. And the commentary I heard was, "There's no way did he just fucking give himself a flag for his birthday?" Like, oh man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So something I'd be interested like to hear from any of our international crowd, like like Dr. Kip and any others, like other buddy Keith over in Great Britain. I don't know if he's still watching. It's if you are, it's past your bedtime, young man. But I want to know, what is the ratio, like when you're looking at the United States from your vantage point, what's the ratio of this is hilarious to this is terrifying? I'm very curious
Right.
what that looks like for you. Because I know, like, here being in the country, that's something where I feel like naturally, like the this is terrifying is way higher, but I feel in one of those, like, you gotta laugh to keep from crying, like that kind of attitude kind of boosts like the hilarity, like almost out of necessity, because otherwise we'd all just like collapse in on ourselves in despair. But
Yeah. And it's also
but
entirely absurd. Like, just there's
that
so much
too.
of it, like the incompetence and the buffoonery and the ignorance, like actual ignorance, and seems like lack of intelligence also.
Yeah.
Just it's a bad reality TV show that Donald Trump is he writes, stars, produces, directs. Like we're all in his bad TV show. Like he picked people for the
Yep.
cabinet that he wants to see on TV. Like they fit the
Mm,
visual role
yeah.
and the obedience that he wants.
Yeah. That's why he picked a bunch of Fox News personalities. But like, yeah, I mean, and
Not a single Uggo in his entire cabinet or press secretary. He
yep.
she's
Yep.
like 23 or some shit. She's super young and
Right.
a
And
trooper. She'll say anything, no matter
yeah,
how dumb it is.
yeah, that's got to be one of the hardest jobs is like press secretary. It's like it sounds like I don't care who the president is. I mean, it's probably much worse with someone like Trump, but it's like no matter what, you got to spin everything into a positive. It's like I don't know. Maybe it's easier for some types of like neurotypical people. Like bringing this back to like the whole like autism thing. It's like faking it is just fucking exhausting. But oh
There's our Twitch.
yes,
Oh,
our weekly Twitch bot. So,
this
well,
one looks
glad to
like it
know.
has a they have a Korean name.
Ooh, getting a little more international here, but yeah. That's one thing. Like that, I do appreciate that at least lets me know that this is still doing something on Twitch. Like I still like I said, we're on Twitch. I still have no idea how any of that works. Like I go back to like I have the Twitch app on my phone and I like look at our channel and I don't see any of our videos. So I don't know if Twitch like they just go live but they don't keep the recording, or if there's something else I got to do to keep it up there. I don't know. Um, but it was really more just like, hey, we got a button that lets us stream on Twitch as well, so I just do that, and it's like, eh. but so going back to like this past weekend and just the juxtaposition. So speaking of like trying to find encouragement in some things, that just the juxtaposition of seeing the turnout for the No Kings rallies and then seeing the turnout for the Army slash Trump's birthday parade and how pathetic it looked. Like on its own, it looked pathetic enough, but in comparison, it
Yeah,
was just so fucking ludicrous. It just made me feel so good. Like I've been looking for like something to be optimistic about with all this stuff going on. So then now, in the aftermath of that, Trump apparently trying to overcorrect to try to get like more favor. Now him like being like super hawkish on Iran, which is apparently pissing even more people off. So I feel like now, unfortunately, this is like the real world, and he is still like the actual president of the United States, and the things he does has like actual real consequences. But at least there's the aspect that, hopefully he's just going to go so like batshit insane that he is just going to completely lose all support. But now the
There
bad
is
news is he has to do some pretty heinous, terrible things that are going to hurt and or kill a lot of people in the meantime to get there, which
well,
is,
the Iran thing
beyond
is
sucks. But
causing a major split in
yeah,
his supporters, because there were a lot of people who, one of the big reasons they liked him was because they believed him when he
right,
said he would keep us out of wars.
right.
Um, because
Now,
we haven't really won a war, won in quotes, like you can actually win a war, just you just
yeah,
survived the best. That's what. Um, we haven't. America's noticing a trend that uh, you can't do regime change because it doesn't work. Um, you we can't we can't take over other countries and hold them.
hmm
We've been trying to do this since Vietnam, um, and have done poorly in all of them. Like in the end, so all that has happened is we spent a lot of money, lost a lot of lives, killed a lot of people, um, and generally ended up off worse for it in the
right,
long run.
yeah, yeah,
So nobody wants
well,
that again. Um,
and which is good. So
except people that have financial interest, because Iran is standing in the way of some economic corridors opening up, like trade routes, pipelines. Um, if Iran is strong, then America can't have hegemony. Hegemony? There you go.
yeah, and what does that mean?
Um, the most power, sole power, like
Okay.
you dominate.
Yeah,
Um,
because that's one of those words like I've heard a lot, and I felt like at one point I kind of picked up by context clues what it means, but I never actually learned what it means, and I realized I don't actually know. So okay, that
it
makes sense.
also involves like control of other countries.
hmm
Like they can do whatever they want as long as it's not this thing. Wonder
hmm
where that came from. Maybe the Book of Genesis. Everybody's a Christian in these countries
Ah,
that do this shit. Well,
mm.
you can do this. You do everything you want except be free. You can't be completely free. All the freedom you want, except for all of it.
Mm. Or you will surely die
Yeah.
in that day. Yeah.
Trust
Man.
us, bro. It's better this way.
Speaking of apologetics, it's basically that's the main apologetic tactic. Trust me, bro. Um,
Circular
uh,
logic, logical fallacies,
mm,
assertions, strong assertions.
yep. Yep.
Assertions are not facts. It's amazing how convinced people are that they are
Yep.
facts.
Yes. Claims trying to pass his arguments and
It's
yeah.
like, well, Jesus is the Son of God. Now what? Well, the
Like,
sky's purple.
yeah.
Now what? You can't just make claims.
Yeah. Yeah. It's oh. All right. Well, I'm about out of first drink, like literally, maybe metaphorically. I don't know. I feel like I may have to go back and adjust the description because I feel like we maybe didn't give the. Not that I'd really know, like I said, not that I feel like, unfortunately, I prepared to go more into the topic of like linking like neurodivergence, LGBTQIA plus attributes. I mean, unless there was anything else on that topic you wanted to go into,
No,
otherwise, like,
it's just not flowing.
yeah. So apologies to,
This has never happened before. We're sorry.
yeah. Ooh, but speaking of assertions, Here's B.S. Lewis with a solid one.
Hit that thumbs
Yeah.
up.
No, smash that like button and hit subscribe and slam that notification bell and fuck the share button. I don't know.
What?
What?
Hey, unrelated. I found out today via a British game show that if you crush a can for recycling,
Mm-hmm.
that it might not get recycled because the robot eye that reads it can't tell it's a can.
Mm. Right now, real quick, I want to get back to what Kip was saying there. But James says so much of history is based on the claims that people from antiquity have made. It's like yes, but claims of historical things, like one, we can like verify them other ways, but also like that's not really the same as making an argument, I guess, technically. Oh man, someone's getting called out. But yeah, Kip, as we saw in my last live stream, which oh man. So well, I'm hoping what he made you do was smash that like button. Or I'm sorry, I wasn't. Oh, now there's 3. It's like, oh, it's a miracle. Like, oh,
They're budding.
yes, they're budding just like the horns on BS's forehead there. Anyway, so as Kip says, that we saw in my last live stream, which I think if it's the same one you're talking about, I watched today. Actually, wouldn't.
Devastatingly effective.
Yeah. Oh, what? I'm totally blanking on what it was about. I literally watched it today, like while I was working.
I did not.
Oh, but there was something from the live stream, like, and I took a screenshot of it. I won't pull it up because I can remember it. I'm hitting all kinds of things. Jesus liked it. I actually don't know what I feel about that. How I feel about that. Anyway, like one of my favorite things about the live stream, though, was a comment by Paulogia, kind of making fun of you for how long the streams go. Which, hey, I can relate. Like anyone who's familiar with our channel, they go long. like Paulogia is like, yeah, Dr. Kip's streams are meaningful because they last forever. Or something like that. Kind of riffing on, speaking of apologists, how they say like they want to think ways they try to attack atheists is like, oh, think everything's meaningless if you don't think like things last forever, then what's the meaning of life? And so, so yeah, making that like pointing that out. So that's why our episodes go so long. We're just trying to achieve meaningfulness that is eternity. So yes, disciple of misogyny. Yeah. So yeah, watch. So okay, it's bugging me, so I'm just gonna pull it up now because I can't remember what it was called. Oh yeah, and I'm remembering the internet's being weird. But anyway, one of the things and we're on. I guess we're like officially on second drink now. Before I get into something I wanted to comment about that show. So Matt, what's your second? What are you working on there?
Sorry, news headline caught my eye.
Yeah.
I'm drinking the regular version of the last one I had. I threw it in the trash can, so I forget what it's called.
It's a ginger beer, just not the spicy version. All right, so my second drink, like I said, this was the second Father's Day gift for myself. Which, by the way, I'm not sure if I ever wished you Happy Father's Day, Matt, over the weekend. So if not, I apologize and Happy Father's Day.
Did we not do that? Damn.
Yeah. I don't know. Are we still friends? I don't know.
My mom didn't tell me either, so.
Well, mine did, but I mean, I did see her in person. So, but yeah, and also like Happy Father's Day to folks in the audience like BS and Kip. who I happen to know are fathers, and anyone else watching who's a father, happy belated Father's Day. So yeah,
Belated.
so speaking of like Father's Day presents I get for myself, this was the second one, and this is a beer like I usually like for Father's Day I'll get like this beer and something else, but this is a staple, one of my absolute favorite beers ever from the infamous Stone Brewing Company, Arrogant Bastard Ale.
Arrogant
That's
bastard.
I've been I've heard myself referred to every now and then. But so something real quick, Dr. Kip, well, we got you on. If you're willing to answer, let me know what you think of this. So one of the things they were talking about in the live stream, they were talking about specifically the story of the fall. There was this lady minister, blanking on her name. It was the Reverend Doctor. And this was like she was delivering a sermon like direct. I think it was the weekend after the inauguration, like, and the Bud, I can't remember her title or first name, but who delivered that sermon in the National Cathedral during like the inauguration service, basically calling Trump out, saying like, "Hey, maybe don't be a dick to all these people," and everyone was like, "What?"
He was fuming too. She basically said, "How about you be more like Jesus?" And
Mm.
he
And
did
he's like,
not
"How dare
enjoy
you
that.
in a church?" Yeah,
It's like, I'm better than
okay.
Jesus is probably what he was thinking.
All right. Oh, cool. Mountain biking with one of your kids on Father's Day, and he bought you a milkshake. Awesome, man.
Excellent.
That sounds like good times. But one of the things that we're talking about was the story of the fall and how it's depicted in the Bible. So this lady, oh, thank you. Yeah, the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Todd Peters. She was delivering this sermon the following weekend, and basically kind of talking about how, like, not just that Bud was getting criticized for her message, but how much of it was, as she put it, was like very gendered, like especially from like the super like fundamentalist religious right, and how it's like, oh, this woman, like she has no authority, just all this
Yeah.
stuff. And so she was talking about the story of the fall and taking like really cool like interpretations of it and almost like portraying something like we've talked about here on the show. I know like several times about how there's just so many ways to interpret that story, including ones that basically make it sound like God or Yahweh in the story is basically the villain, and the serpent, who is not actually Satan, literally just a serpent, might actually be, even if not the hero, but maybe more of a helpful character, or maybe like Eve. Like I think the way Reverend Dr. Todd Peters was saying was almost like Eve was the hero, which is a really cool interpretation. But
I've never heard that before. That would be cool to hear.
yeah, so go back and watch Dr. Kip's live stream. It was really good. It included a special appearance by Dr. Josh and his epic beard. There was a lot of talk between like him and Vishanti and them about different beard products that he could endorse, which was amazing. But yeah, I always find it interesting, like in the story of the fall, like how there's the two trees, the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. And because we're told like, oh, they were going to die because they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but saying like, and that's what brought death into the world. But then my thinking is, well, then what was the point of the tree of life? Because what I'm thinking in my mind is like, okay, what if they ate neither tree? Like, would they still die, or would they still live forever if they didn't eat the tree that would kill them, but they also didn't eat the tree that would give them eternal life? Like, what would happen in that case? But
Well, death entered the world when sin entered the world, right? That's the story.
yeah, so then what was the point of the tree of life? If they never would have eaten from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, why did they need the tree of life? That's my question. But BS here with another good point. Like the heroes were the friends they made along the way, like the serpent. So, but here's something I was thinking, and so again,
They
like
didn't make
Dr.
a lot
Kip,
of friends along the way, though.
right? Well, I guess Cain did in like whatever city he went to, because there was a city with people in a world
Right.
that was only populated by him and his family, which is. But
Wait,
so what I'm wondering,
that's why they thought that the original faith was like kind of a rural farmer shepherd kind of faith, because Cain went to the city. Cities are bad. That's where the evil people are. That's where Cain went.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, but if I'm honest, like I don't remember making that joke. Oh, that might have been something I said about. I remember making that joke about preterism and saying like maybe the real apocalypse was the friends we made along the way. I don't remember if I said that on your stream, but yeah, Kip, good point. Like, yeah, I don't even know why I have Josh on my channel. That fucking beard, I know, right? It's just getting obnoxious. So, oh, and Daniel Price, there's a name I remember, but I think it's been a while. So welcome back. God makes everything, tells Adam and Eve not to eat from the thing He created, or they'd be damned. But it's the serpent's fault, even though God created it. Makes sense, right? I mean, if you're an apologist, like, oh, but so BS does have a point. I was drunk, so.
Also, comparing friends that we make to an apocalypse is a very autistic thing to say.
And this was before I even knew. Honestly, I should have known at that point. But so Cain built a city. No word if it was any good or if anyone lived there. So
the whole city. It's just him.
Yeah. So I had a question. There was something while I was watching the stream. It was talking about how it seems like God may have actually lied when He said, like, you will die in that day when you eat the fruit, because they ate the fruit and did not die in that day, in fact. But the serpent actually said, oh, when you eat it, you'll basically just, your eyes will be open and you'll be like God. And I remember actually being specifically told by Christians, like I remember a while ago, I posted something on Facebook, how ironic I thought it was, like, you know, Satan in the Bible is called the father of lies, but I can't think of a single time he actually lied in the Bible. But because, I mean, read it. And so, but one friend replied with like what the serpent said in the garden.
Build a city on rock and roll. That's why it's evil, that rock and roll.
I mean, rocks and rolling is about all they had at that point. But they're saying, oh, the serpent lied when he said when they eat the fruit, then that would make them like God. That was like the first lie. But I was like, okay, first of all, that was a serpent, not Satan. But also, if you're saying that the serpent lied when he said that eating the fruit would make them like God, okay, read a little further, and that's literally like what God said to Himself when He had to kick them out. It's like, oh, yeah, now they're going to be like us. So if you're saying the serpent lied, then Yahweh also lied when He said that. But that means Yahweh lied to Himself or whoever He was talking to. So, ooh. Or, see, allegedly, the cities of Cain and their wickedness were what led to the flood, ark, etc., etc. It's a plot point in the movie Noah with Russell Crowe. I've not seen that. I'm interested.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. It looks fun.
Well, apparently, refuting BS's claim, Cain wasn't in Jefferson's starship. So, conflict. So anyway, so back to the whole, like, did eating from the tree actually kill them? So there was just something while I was watching the stream. I was like, oh, this is something I'd love to ask, like Dr. Kip or like someone else, like who's like a actual expert on the like appropriate subject matter. But now that I'm thinking about it, that for some reason, either I'm just completely misremembering what my question was, or it's just not sounding nearly as profound or interesting as what. But I'll just kind of go with what's in my head at the moment. So it's almost made it sound like, so did Yahweh mean like when they ate from that tree they would die, like that's what would kill them, or that He knew if they did He would kick them out and then that would restrict them from having access to the tree of life and that's what would kill them?
It's unclear. They would just surely die.
Yeah,
that was the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Daniel Price with another good point here. The serpent would also be God's fault. I mean, as would everything, which is a point I like to make. The serpent was Lucifer in disguise, and Lucifer was the chief fallen angel, and God allowed him to lose to tempt them. to let him to be loose to tempt them. It's still his doing and not intervening, right? So this is something I remember in those like shorter videos that I've been making. This is something I addressed recently. I don't remember which one it was because I don't think it was the main point of the video. It was just kind of like a side little point. But basically, if you're going to present God as being omnipotent or all powerful, and you're saying that he literally created everything, and this is also a key point. Speaking of BS, I referenced earlier your syllogism involving like the problem of evil and why it's such a problem. This kind of touches on that too. It's like, okay, if you're going to say that God literally created everything and he created everything the way he wanted it to be, and he created it so all systems work the way he wanted them to work, like et cetera, and like then there can be literally nothing that is not his fault or his responsibility because he made everything to work, like not just made everything but made it to work the way it works. So if you want to say, well, the consequences of sin is death, like, well, God is the one who made it that way, and like, well, the people were able to be tempted, well, God made them able to be tempted. Like, that's
Well, he
why
made
when
the rule that the wages of sin is death. Like, it didn't.
right, yeah,
Is that like
that's
an
why like when
external rule that isn't
yeah.
his that he has to follow? Well, who made that
Mhm.
rule? That's the real God. Let's worship that one.
Yeah, that's why, like, when Christians say, "Well, all the problems in the world because well, we're just broken, and so we cause the problem." So my question, like, okay, well, if I'm broken, who made me so fragile? Like, yeah,
Yeah, they'll say you did, or your
let's see,
parents,
yeah,
or something equally traumatic to hear.
hmm. Yeah. All right. So as Daniel Price says here, it meant that they were cast out of the Garden of Eden. It meant that if they were cast out of the Garden of Eden, it would lead to the knowledge being the downfall of man, end of creation, and so on and so on. Hmm.
So being ignorant in the garden was best.
Yeah, which is also why, like, I love the interpretation. This is one that Dr. Kip talks about. It's almost like while Adam and Eve were in the garden, they were essentially slaves. So once they attained the knowledge of the gods, basically, it's almost so it wasn't even so much, but like being kicked out of the garden, but like almost like they were being freed, and like so
Yeah,
they could. So
and like
yeah.
they didn't even know about sin because it hadn't entered the world yet, right?
Right, which again, that's
So
the other
how do they
question. How can you?
know
Yeah,
that like God's like, don't do that, it'll be terrible, and they're like, what is this terrible that you speak of?
yeah. It's like how can you
Right?
blame someone for committing evil before they have the knowledge of evil or whatever?
And they have no
So, but
concept of terrible, awful, bad things because none of that has happened yet.
yeah.
So he's like, I'm telling you, like the good will stop. And they're like, what does that even mean? That the good will stop? Just yeah,
Yeah, but
makes no sense.
so unfortunately, I didn't see exactly when this went up, BS, or what exactly you were referring to. I do know who Dan McClellan is,
Oh,
but
they were maybe unwittingly ignorant.
endorsing they were endorsing something. So
Oh,
yeah, but Daniel here's like, yep, if God created the species and knew the script from the start, then they would inevitably fuck up on the scale we have, but it didn't do anything to stop it. He's like a drunk dad making kids fight. Yeah. And yeah. Yes, another contradiction. If you have free will, but God's demanding you don't eat or bad things will happen, and is forcing you to be like a dumb child, that's an abusive codependent relationship. Yep.
interesting. There is no
Oh,
sin in the story, Kip says.
yeah. And also, like, YouTube yeeted his comment. Oh. Yeah. No sin. Yep. Oh, are you trying to like plug yourself? Damn. Well,
That's
I'll.
weird.
It's
Why
like
wouldn't they want
I'll.
somebody to watch another YouTube video?
Yeah. Well, I'll plug you for you. Don't think about that too much. Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Check out BS Lewis's channel. It's like he has over 1,000 subscribers. Well, so you can be like more than 1,000 subscriber, won't you?
It is good, unique stuff.
Yes, quite. So, but real quick, Matt. So what I put in the private chat, are you a yay or nay? I'll leave that up to
We'll
you.
do yay.
All right. Let's see here.
I did
So,
comment, but it might not have been clear what I was saying.
all right. So I wanted to check with Matt first before I put this out. But since like with the engagement, like I'm appreciating in the comments. But if anyone is wanting to hop on and engage like for reals, like still virtually. But I just put a link out in the chat if anyone wants to hop on and chat with us. Um, yeah, BS is a big boy now. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun hanging out with you, BS. That was thanks for having me. And Matt was
Yeah,
in the
that was
chat,
fun to
which
watch.
was cool to see. Yeah,
Another little news update. Oh, sorry.
smart.
It reminds me of
But,
Robin Hood Men in Tights. A chastity belt.
it's like I'll take two.
And no, he says, "Wait." When Sheriff of Nottingham sees the chastity belt, and he said, "Chastity," he's like, "That'll chafe my willy." Was what he said next.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I also realized I only saw it like on TV, so I'm sure the version I got was
Yeah, you probably got it
not ideal.
edited, definitely for
Yeah.
language edited.
Mm-hmm. I remember seeing a couple like kind of like fade transitions, like, oh, that's not wanting me to see something.
So the news update is that Donald Trump has reviewed the attack plans and is awaiting to see if Iran is going to step back from its nuclear program. So this is him not wanting to do it, but he's totally going to do it if you make him. So
Right.
they're kind of maybe trying to call his bluff because he's not really going to do this, does not want to do it. He also has that taco thing to try to get out from under.
Yeah.
His feedback's down now. He's done. Like no one, he's not a threat anymore. No one will take him seriously in the world stage. They barely do right now, almost only because like they kind of have to in some respects. But
Yeah. Is that a
this is the last
courtesy?
time we dominate in anything, which is probably good.
Yeah. Like I feel like I'm kind of okay with that, but also realizing I probably don't actually understand all the full ramifications of that, but I'm still just like, yeah.
Yeah. Also, global warming.
Yeah. McDonald says Iran better apologize for what? Being attacked. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, you
so
don't
many.
make us go to war with you. Still.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, and it turns out they
there's a lot of like, oh man, I don't know if I want to call them jokes because they require like a trigger warning. But you see like the illusions that could be made here, like blaming the victim for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, our country is doing some very Christian things lately, like in the last few decades.
Yeah. Well, no. What do you mean by very Christian things?
Well,
All my mind is
evangelizing,
thinking it's
like
like,
America. The good news that like what
yeah,
America's version of democracy and capitalism is what's best for the world, and we want to try to spread that to other nations because it's good for us to have that happen. That's kind of like what Christians do. Um, being able to convince somebody to join their elaborate cult is like makes them feel much better and more convicted that like they're on the right side of things.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it is a high. Like people do chase that.
Right. Oh yeah, but speaking of other brilliant things that Trump said, like when he told like everyone just needs to evacuate, like by today or whatever it was. It's like, do you understand how long it takes to get that many people out of a place? Like, clearly you don't.
How many millions of people is it in that city in Tehran?
I don't even know.
It
That's all right.
was,
Neither did Ted Cruz. So
no, and they've been having a problem with oil and gasoline. There's been like a hiccup in their supply, and so gas stations were running out of gas because they were hit all at once. Um, traffic, it's like 2 hours in traffic just trying to leave the city. Yeah, it's a garbage time.
Right. So
I think the illusion is gone that this thing that we were doing where we're like, we're trying to save you from yourself by bombing you into liking us. Like that kind of garbage.
mm-hmm. All right, so here's some stats. Iran's got 93 million, most of them in Tehran. So yeah, that's. I mean, even if it was like say 20 million people, like you're not gonna evacuate that many people that quickly. Like it's
And
just
where would they go? Uh,
right. And
I,
just somewhere else that we're probably gonna start bombing later. And it's like,
there was a real dick move that Israel pulled where no one was allowed to evacuate. They closed all the airports. And so human shields, what? The civilians are not allowed to evacuate. If you can afford it, people were getting tickets on yachts to go to Cyprus. I doubt they'll shut that down because those are the wealthier people who can afford that with connections. You don't really want to mess with them, so they'll probably still be able to get out. The U.S. did evacuate some people from their embassy, which is not a great sign. But that's a military flight they have to get out on because the airports are closed.
So it's a fun time to be on Earth.
We do have at least one base in Israel that's kind of secret, but not super secret. It's in the desert, and it's used for guiding, monitoring missiles coming in, and probably for helping to target missiles going out. So that's cool and fun. And
Yay!
go America! Hey, but the good news is,
there is some.
no one has enough ammunition or soldiers to pull this off long term. Also, there's a global shortage of it's like 3 letters. I forget what it is, but the explosive compound that goes into the bombs to make them splody. Well, the explodey compound is in short supply, and they can't just make more of it. There's like a years long gap of having enough of the materials to make the stuff. So the U.S. has limited supply. Israel has fewer defensive missiles than Iran has offensive missiles. Like this, none of this can last. Nobody in the world is prepared for a world war.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? Does that mean we go straight to nuke?
No, I unmuted you. Yeah. So you said the. I was about to say you said the N word, but you not that one.
My mic reset.
The other word that starts with N, you actually said it. So
Explodey Compound is Josh's new band. Yeah. I like it.
Oh, are you talking about Dr. Josh? I like that. But Daniel makes another good point. Yeah, Netanyahu bombs Iran, but terrified of letting a 4'11" Swedish girl step foot on Gaza, has her arrested. Oh, baby. Yeah. Greta Thunberg. Yeah.
They boarded the ship in international waters. That was an illegal thing to do.
Right. So BS calling Kip out again. Apparently, it's where Canada needs to step up.
I don't know.
Their mooses, right? I mean, we talked about that last week, where we were hoping that Dr. Kip or someone would mount up a phalanx of moose. I think with Jesus, I think was part of this whole image, and have them
on the mooses.
And come down and help with the protests going on that we got. But apparently, Kip said that was a ridiculous idea. I don't know what the fuck.
I mean, there were war elephants. War moose could be kind of fun,
right? Yeah. See, Kip, you could be the next. You could be like the Hannibal of moose.
Just sharpen their antlers.
Yeah, this is your time, my friend.
So they just got a head full of knives.
As if they needed that, but yeah.
I know. You get trampled or stabbed. Like, which one?
Trample stab.
Although I don't know if they can get their head that low to like let people with their. They still would look real badass though.
Right, right. Ooh. So,
This could be interesting.
you want to go for it?
Let's see what happens.
All right. In the let's see what happens category, James is joining us, but by audio only. How's it going, James? James, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello.
Testes, 1, 2.
I do not hear a James.
Well,
Well,
that was fun.
yes. So yeah, jump off and like try again if you want, but but yes. But as BS says, yeah, no. Yeah, see, maybe like its ridiculousness is an advantage because I mean, honestly, like if I was an ICE agent, like fucking some shit up in downtown LA, I would not expect moose.
Right, right. See, the cops have been using
So
horses. We would need moose, to escalate that.
right, right. So oh, that's the problem.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
My pride.
All right. So, well, if anyone else wants to try to jump on, to make up for that thing that almost was. You see, now I'm disappointed. I was wanting a person, but we got gypped. So, if someone
Mhm.
else like Daniel, BS, Kip, if you're still out there, or Chris, if you're still he was on earlier, I don't know if he's still on, but we tend to go on and ramble and whatnot. But which, by the way, like I don't know if any. I'd be surprised if there was anyone who actually did watch a full episode of this, like live, like start to front, start to back,
we
back to front, front to back. I had no words.
Yeah, we did have some people finish, like several people finish that one night where we're like, well, we're
Yeah,
still watching. It seemed
yeah,
like they might have been there the whole time.
I know. It's like I was like a combination of thank you and I'm sorry. Um, but okay, so I mean, we can talk more about like current event, like war, like stuff. But there was something on like the like autism angle I was
All
wanting to
right.
discuss if you wanted, and if you were done with other things, or if you wanted to like stick on that for a while. It was the thing I texted you earlier about the whole like healthy grace thing.
Yeah.
All right. Also, real quick, I just want to point out how to me it's kind of cool because like on your end, it looks like there's like a light source coming from like I guess your right side, but like I also have like a candle there, so to me it's look
Oh.
like my candle is like lighting like that side of your face. So I
Oh yeah.
love.
No, I do have a light source right here.
All right, cool. It's actually my candle, so you're welcome. Um, but so yeah, but bringing this back kind of like to the topic of autism. So for people who follow me on Facebook, like my personal page, I started doing a series of videos per recommendation by my therapist. Um, she didn't necessarily recommend the specific topic, but more just like encouraged me to because I'd already started doing the videos that I also been posting on the humanities page on YouTube as well. Um, about just on every Sunday, just different thoughts I have about like Christianity or whatever. But she recommended like, yeah, those are great, but like maybe like just as an exercise and kind of expanding like and getting you to like talk about different things, like start doing videos on another topic. So I decided, hey, I'll just start doing videos on explaining what it's like to be autistic because that's been one of the things like since recently finding out just in the past like several months. Hey, it looks like I'm autistic. I haven't been officially diagnosed, but what's the point? um, so I started like I'll just make because when I tell people that they'll ask me like, well, what does that mean? Because like I said, autism can mean so many different things, and I've said it's really kind of hard to just explain and say, well, this is what it means. Like kind of like a big picture kind of thing. For me, I found it more helpful to almost just go by individual circumstances or happenings or whatever. Say, well, in this situation, my brain was doing this and I did this, and it probably seemed weird, but here's why. And that's the tism. So I just started doing a series of videos and it's a little more like random, like whereas like, the other videos I've been doing like scheduled like every Sunday. These are a little more just whenever something pops into my head and I feel like making a little video and explaining, hey, I just had this experience and like tismed all over the place. And here's what that was like. So I actually released one today. But so I want to talk about what I was talking about there. But I mean, so so Daniel says I've
Yeah.
had to debunk and diffuse so much of Kennedy's bullshit about autism. Oh yeah, RFK Jr. I'm assuming that's the Kennedy you're talking about. Cocksucker's done so much damage. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I think it's important for people who are like kind of under the radar autistic um, to tell people that they are like
Mhm.
whenever it makes sense to, or it would be helpful to be a
Right.
representative
Yeah.
of the
Mhm.
autistic people that Kennedy says don't exist.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, it looks like James is attempting to get on. Says it won't let him put on his camera and audio. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to help you other like, because all I know to say is, well, turn it on. But I guess if it's not letting you, I mean, it might have something to do with like the browser you're using or the
Yeah,
device you're using isn't giving you permissions. But yeah, sorry about that, dude.
yeah.
But yeah, because that's also like I said, like I haven't like gotten an official diagnosis for several reasons. One, it's just so fucking expensive. And also, like at this point, like I don't where I am, like it's not like I need any kind of like special accommodations at work or anything else. So I don't
Yeah.
really know how it would benefit. But also, but now with like this fucker as like the HHS secretary, it's like I don't want to be put on a list. Like just kind of
Well,
not in the mood for that right now.
here's a benefit
So
for possibly kids who are not
right,
18 yet.
yeah,
If you get, from what my understanding is, if you have an autism diagnosis, they won't draft you. Um, you're not considered
mm,
eligible for the draft. So that's good news.
yeah,
Because I keep forgetting that. There are times when I don't remember that because my son's diagnosed officially. And with the crazy shit that's happening with Iran, um, and maybe a year ago, that there was something passed, probably something with the budget or the debt ceiling, where people just throw shit in there to get it passed, like pork and stuff, Well, one of the additions to it was authorizing a draft for a war with Iran. Uh, that's now the only war I think that they can legally draft for. Like the selective service ban was lifted, but only in the case of a war with Iran.
mm,
And we don't have enough active duty military for a ground invasion like that.
mm. Yeah. Sorry, I'm blanking on what you're referring to.
Maybe why not drafting autistic people?
Ah, okay.
Um, Probably because, well, we're naturally prone to
Well,
PTSD. So
and I guess also, I mean, especially now, I don't know if they're going by. Well, I get this. This probably predates Kennedy, but I guess especially if they're going by like what Kennedy's version of what autism
right,
is,
I
then
think it
like,
means
oh,
that
they,
you're a
yeah.
wild card. Like they can't.
Especially if you're like the like pathological demand avoidance type, where you're just
Right.
like, I'm not going to just automatically obey an authority unless you like prove to me like why I need to do what you're telling me to do.
Well, there's a guy
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
a anti-war activist now called Greg Stoker, but he's a former Army Green Beret, and he's diagnosed autistic, and you can kind of tell sometimes in his stuff. But he was like really good at human intelligence gathering and source development, strategic stuff. Like he ended up like he did really well. But now that he's out, there are things that trigger him, like when he hears he was at a protest and he was protesting with vets that were in his group, and some of them are still more keen on the military than he is. So they started doing a protest chant, but they started doing it in the way that like a cadence chant you would do for like drills when you're like marching or jogging. They started doing it with the same rhythm, and he started having like an autistic meltdown because he's like, no, I can't, and he like couldn't get away from it, and he's like 6.5 feet tall and shit.
Wow.
But yeah, so I mean, you can do well, but like, I'm glad that they think that my son can't.
Right? Yeah. All right. So as Daniel says here, in theory, autism should get you a medical exemption from a hypothetical draft, but they said they wouldn't touch SSI and Medicaid either. But that was a huge damn lie. Yep.
Yeah.
And had your benefits yanked. Oh,
Damn.
Yeah.
We're in danger of having ours.
Yeah, I was going to say, Matt. And he had an official diagnosis, but apparently he was waste, fraud, and abuse to them. It's like,
right.
yeah.
That's what they're saying. They're saying certain people are a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, eugenics.
But not billionaires who need their tax cuts. They're not a waste.
No. We fuel their income. They're rich because they're better. That's how that works.
Well, would you like to change topic to something a little more inspirational?
Okay.
All right. So speaking of these little videos that I've been making before we were interrupted, I guess we're interrupted. We're trying to get James on. Yeah, it just wasn't working out. Sorry. But what I was starting to talk about, so these other videos I've been making about kind of describing my experience, just like situationally, what it's like being autistic. I posted one today that I was like kind of proud of, mostly because it made me think of a phrase that I shared with my therapist. And she's like, oh, that's a good phrase. I'm like, feel free to use it. And she's like, I will. So I don't know if she has. But anyway, so the situation, like I said, I just posted it today. Like, Matt, I don't know if you happen to see it. If not, that's cool. Like I said, literally, it was just like, it was
I
posted
might
at like
not
6,
have seen it yet.
It was like at like 6 p.m. today or something like that. So, several weeks ago, and this was actually on my way to therapy, I had a little situation that ended up being really cool. So for people who don't know, like with autism, like one of the
things. You
things.
a situation, I imagine you peed your pants or something. I don't know why. I had a situation while I was heading home.
It did involve a liquid going in a place it shouldn't have been, but it wasn't urine. So for people like who don't know, like part of like what autism can look like is having different like sensory issues, and so just different like sensations, like sound is a big one, like visual, like too much light, like too much visual stimulation, or like touch and like feeling is a big thing. Like I was talking about earlier, it's like why I love this shirt because it's nice and soft, doesn't have a tag. Like I pretty much wear, unless I'm out, like when I'm around the house, I'm just wearing like gym shorts like all the time because they're cozy. So when I have like unwanted like sensory experiences, that can be like a huge thing and can also like really like just like set me off, like get me super agitated. And so on my way to therapy a few weeks ago, it was earlier in the morning. It was like 10:30. So like working from home, like I still had like my coffee, like in my coffee mug. Cause like I take like just like one mug of coffee, like I'll drink like literally over the entire morning, like several hours. I'll have to like microwave it like 2 or 3 times. 'Cause I don't know why. Anyway, but when it was time to leave for my appointment, like I still had some left. It was like, okay, well, it's not much. I don't really feel like pouring it into a travel mug and like dirtying another dish just for what's just going to be like a few more sips. So I'm like, but I don't want to just like chug it real quick because I enjoy like enjoying it slowly. So I'm like, I'll just take my actual mug in the car because apparently like they actually let you do that. You don't have to put your coffee in a travel mug just because you're traveling. So I just took like my actual just ceramic. It was also happened to be a Legend of Zelda mug because I'm awesome like that. In the car, I'm like it was like less than half full, so I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. But of course,
Look out.
driving through like the west side, like I do, and roads on the west side being what they are, um, ended up like it's the coffee, like because of like a bump or sharp turn or whatever, ended up spilling over the side a little bit. But it wasn't just like the spill, which like okay, that created a mess. Which my brain is like, okay, that's one more thing I'm going to have to clean up, and like I can't, even though because I'm me, I keep napkins very accessible in my car, so I can like grab them like while driving very quickly. Like, oh, see, I'm assuming you talk about like the coffee in the mug thing. Yeah. All right. Good to know. I got some support out there. Ooh. Well, you can take my money if you if you get this to work. The self warming coffee. Yes. See, what works for me is when it's the winter time. See, this is only a problem for me during the warmer months because when it's cold, like during the winter, I have like a radiator, like space heater in my office.
Ah,
So I just have that on. So I just sit my coffee mug on top of that, and that keeps it warm. But now that like I don't use my space heater, so
that's interesting. What a lovely fire hazard.
it's actually not. It's like a radiator. It's not like the fan like heated coil type. It's like a
Oh,
radiator. Yeah,
okay.
it actually works really well. But Smug is my that is fucking brilliant. I am going to have to use that now. So I link to functionality. That's brilliant. Thank you, Daniel. And so, ooh, you have a tiny hot plate. I've seen those as well. I might have to just go ahead and get one of those.
You know, they also have these.
But
They're super fancy.
yeah.
Aaron, my wife has one actually. If the heater coil is in the bottom of the mug, and the plate that you put it on is like to charge it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's super fancy, and you can actually like there's a Bluetooth app where you can select the temperature you want your coffee to be.
Ooh,
Yeah,
man.
I was not super pleased when that purchase came into the house because I was like, "Fuck, how much was that?"
But hey, I'm sure. I'm sure from my perspective, it was well worth it. But
She did
anyway,
use it all the time, so like that was.
Oh yeah, got our money's worth. So anyway, so I'm in my car and it spills over. So not only do I have the fact that like, okay, I made a mess, and so there's that whole, and this goes like beyond like the sensory thing, but more into like executive function or dysfunction, as the case may be.
Yeah.
Like, just I'm thinking, okay, this is another thing I'm going to have to deal with and take care of now because like there's this mess and it's going to be sticky and I'm going to have to like clean it out and that's going to be a whole thing. But also I'm driving now and I'm still drinking my coffee, but now there's a mess because not only did it spill over, but it spilled over directly onto the handle. So now whenever I pick it up, now there's going to be coffee on my fingers, and so not only is there like that like sensation that is just not welcome at all, and then now whenever I touch the steering wheel, there's going to be coffee on my steering wheel or like literally whatever else I touch. So like, so my brain is going through all this plus so many more things. So I am like getting like just pissed all the way off, like right now, like while I'm driving, like, so I'm thinking, so
Emotional regulation is also a challenge for autistic people.
right.
Like
So
we'll ratchet up and then like can't release it to go back down. Like it can take a little while.
mhm. Yeah, so that's something that's like I've noticed like with me my whole life. Like, so growing up, again, not knowing I was autistic until just like very recently, I was told very often, oh, I just have a really bad temper. Like I
Yeah,
just get
I was told
angry
that.
way
Yep.
too easily. Yep, that was part of my identity. Like that was like so drilled into me. Like, so it's like, oh, so anytime I get angry at little things, like that's like literally a character flaw. Like that is something
Yeah.
wrong with me. But no, I'm still not saying that's like a good thing that happens. But at least now I have the context of no, this is part of just the way my brain works. Like I said, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's like okay, now I at least like understand it. So what was really cool, so the combination of just like knowing I'm autistic now and like going through that experience, but also, so my therapist, she uses this techniques called like acceptance commitment therapy or ACT, where it has a big emphasis on like present moment thinking, and it's really all about like just acknowledging, or like mindfulness is like another big part of it. It's basically like just acknowledging experiences and thoughts that are coming in, and not saying, well, this is good or bad, but also not trying to say, well, this is actually good, and like just like, or just getting rid of it. And like, it's just
We're
like
trying to,
acknowledge.
yeah, you're not trying to convince yourself of anything.
Right. Or like there's like the cognitive behavioral therapy, I guess, is like another popular one, but I've heard that described as like basically like gaslighting yourself. And my therapist agreed with that assertion, what I
Yeah,
thought was.
especially if you're neurodivergent and your thinking patterns don't, it's not something you would naturally do. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've had limited returns
Yeah.
with that, because
Yeah.
there are times where like they're like, no, we're gonna. You can tell they're kind of trying to push for how like we're gonna process through whatever that thing was, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no room in CBT for someone's brain to refuse. You know?
Right. Yeah. So with the like acceptance commitment therapy, or ACT, whatever. So it's more just about like, yeah, fully acknowledging all the like thoughts and feelings and sensations that you're having, but saying, okay, that's a thing that's happening right now, and then say, okay, what do we do with that, and why is it here? So it was really cool, um, being able to like process through that and think, oh, okay, I'm getting upset about this because of like all the sensory like overload things that are happening, not because I'm just temperamental and impatient and like super irritable and just like all these other like character flaw type descriptions. So so I came up with this term in the moment, like as I was processing all this and like my reaction to it, and why. I'm not saying it's like it was like fully okay, but it's like, but it's also not meaning I'm like a bad person or whatever. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I came up with this term healthy grace. And I guess to contrast that, like making sure like the way I thought of it is healthy grace, because you could say, okay, well, understanding I'm autistic and have all these issues with like sensory experiences, like grace with myself could look like in a more unhealthy way. It's like, well, this is just the way I am. And like, I just need to expect that I'm just going to get mad about stuff, and other people, especially other people around me, like they're just going to have to deal with it kind of stuff. But it's like, no, I think that's sort of like an unhealthy way to have like grace with yourself. But this is more like, okay, now that I understand why I'm having this reaction to these experiences that I am, it's like I can approach it in a more healthy way. It's like say, okay, and really go through. And this isn't something I've mastered by any means, but I'm at least just at the stage where I can like recognize it, and like I said, just have more patience with myself. And then when I do start like figuring out how to actually deal with it, it's coming from a place of more accurately understanding what's actually going on. So yeah, that's why I love the term, like, not it's not just having grace with myself, but having healthy grace, like, so it's a place where it's actually going towards like actual improvement, like fully understanding what's going on. Like I said, my therapist thought that was a cool term, so I just thought I'd share that with
Yeah.
y'all. Yeah. All right. So looks like we have a. All right, so Matt, do we want to try again with this, or but real quick? Daniel with a comment here. Yeah, ABA, applied behavioral analysis. I'm not sure if I've heard of this one or not. It's controversial because some therapists are actually good at take the humanistic approach, but others are trying to get them to stop being autistic. Are you
Yeah,
familiar with ABA?
yeah, it's so it does. All right, so my mom used to do that years ago with her friend's son who was nonverbal autistic, um, and it did help him be able to talk. Uh, the the thing I don't like about it, and it still bothers me, like when he says hi to me and stuff. Not because he said hi to me,
Mm-hmm.
but he's repeating he's repeating the greeting in the same. I can hear it like the same cadence, and almost like he's imitating the voice of a woman, because
Hmm.
most of his therapist people who were doing that with him were women. Um, he's parroting, like he's not really saying hi. And so his mom, because they live together, she like instructs him to say hello, and he'll say hello, but he's just like it's like a parrot saying hello, and it bugs the shit out of
Hmm.
me because I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
need him to fucking say hello. Like if
Yeah.
I understand, like it's enough for me to know that like he's mostly nonverbal. He prefers not to talk, and he doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything by it. Just autistic. Like that's
Yeah.
I prefer he doesn't say hello, if he
Yeah.
doesn't want to. I
Exactly.
or if he
Yeah. But
can't,
is it?
like if it's too hard, like you know what I mean. Like
Mhm.
it can be supremely uncomfortable. Like if there are days where I'm less verbal, and it can just be extremely uncomfortable to talk to people. Um,
Right.
yeah, it's really hard to describe. It's kind of like my whole body plus brain gets restless leg. It's
Exactly. Well, your brain's part of your body, so yeah. Um, so yeah, as Alan said, yeah, it's a two-way street unless a spectrum person is on the severe end. Yeah, autistic people have to learn to adapt and survive in the real world. Yeah, but at the same time, the real world needs to have understanding. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Otherwise, you
this
just
is.
end up teaching the kids, in addition to being able to survive in the real world, you teach them how to mask, and that
Mhm.
is not a healthy experience for autistic people.
Yeah. Yeah, because like this is something like covered by like I on with the Christianity on the Spectrum podcast. It was one of the things he mentioned. Like when people talk about, I guess they use the term like an empathy gap. They used to describe like how like people with autism have a hard time
Yeah.
understanding like neurotypical people. But he says, so that is a real thing, but like people only think of it one way. But the reality is, neurotypical people also have like an empathy gap with people on the spectrum. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, we can understand, but like, but they can't understand us either. But people only look at it at that deficit as basically being like the autistic person's fault. It's like, oh, it's their problem. Like no, like
Yeah.
they don't understand us either.
It's our
So
responsibility to find a
yeah,
way to get along with them,
right.
when it should be a mutual thing.
Hmm. Yeah,
Rise
so
up.
the echolalia, I think I'm pronouncing that correct. The parroting, being verbal but mimicking more than actual original conversational speech. Yeah.
I think that can also
So
happen when somebody tends to repeat a phrase, kind of like what Rain Man did, even though Rain Man was autistic and had savant syndrome, which gave people the impression that like all autistic people have like a math superpower. False. I do
right.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty decent at math. I mean, at least until I got to trigonometry. But
Dude, geometry, I could have taught that class. That
yeah.
clicked with me.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Well, we could. I don't.
Yeah. We're looking at the private chat here. So Matt, what do you think? You want to
We could.
go down that road or?
I keep up with the Ukraine war daily. Uh, it's one of my special interests. So, like,
Uh, I don't know. I mean, so like to let people know, so we do have someone in the green room here, but they're wanting to talk like the Russia Ukraine war. Like, I'll be honest, like my brain's not in a place to have that conversation right now. But I mean,
we could. So, I could see us having that conversation maybe next time.
hmm,
Um, it has, and it doesn't have to. I think for me, it doesn't have anything to do with like I don't want to talk about that topic. I think it has more to do with my brain is not in that gear right now.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's because I know we touched on that tonight, but it just feels like I mean we've already been going for almost 2.5 hours. So I feel like starting that conversation now would be like I
Yeah,
would be spent. But yeah. So yeah, it's James we got back there. So yeah, if you want to join us next week,
yeah,
yeah, love to have you back. So
yeah. I hope you don't feel like there's anything we have against you or anything. It's just
yeah,
our brains aren't there. We wouldn't do the conversation justice, and
yeah,
there's also a possibility we might get slightly nonverbal.
Oh, I definitely would if that's in that particular topic right now. I can feel it right now. But yeah, but as always,
Have them on, but make them talk about their feelings. BS this.
so we will take anyone who just wants to talk about the feels. Uh,
First question: what color are your feelings?
but yeah, thanks again, James. Yeah, join us next week again. Like, yeah, thanks as always for the interaction. Even if it seems like we're not necessarily on the same page with stuff, we
Oh,
yeah, I enjoy talking to people. So
if you're on a mobile device, I have a problem with the kind of browser I'm using. Um, what was Daniel talking about?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I wondered where he went. Get those
Uh,
off.
we're that fascinating.
Or that calming.
Ooh, yes, calming and soothing. I'll take that. Yeah. Matt's busy trying to figure out how to make his bandana work both as a tourniquet and a tortilla in case things go dystopian. He gets in a pitch.
Yeah, I'd
That's
use it as a plate, all kinds of stuff. As long as it didn't get dirty, I had to put it back on my head. I mean, like real dirty.
oh, but speaking of tourniquet, this is something like I've been meaning to ask Dr. Kip. So I know you've also speaking of like bumper music or like intro outro music. I know you've apparently a fan of Believer. I just was like I was aware of Believer. I was more of a fan of Tourniquet. I was just curious if you
Oh
were
shit!
familiar with
I
that
listened
band
to
as
some
well.
Believer stuff once, like, but I can't remember what it
Yeah.
sounded like. That
It's
really
just
sounds like
very
it could be
good.
a
It's like
satanic
very
band, also.
good. Like from what I remember, Believer. It's like very good, like technical, slightly like melodic, classically influenced thrash metal. So, but yeah, like I said, Tourniquet, like that was the band I was super into. Like to the point. So I'm also a drummer. Like to the point, like I named my drum set Ted after the drummer for Tourniquet. Like he was
I'd
just
forgotten you
which
named your drums.
yeah, and I didn't just name the set. I named each individual, not just each individual drum. I named all the cymbals, even all the stands, the racks, like the pedals, everything. So
Wait, they're all named Ted individually, or
no, Ted was the name of the set. Like
okay?
the majority of the names of the individual pieces were either from the Lord of the Rings or the movie Flight of Dragons. Have you ever seen that? The animated movie by
Uh,
Rankin Bass, the people who made the Hobbit cartoon, like back in the 70s. So, so for instance, like my snare drum was named Gorbash, my kick drum was Brayog, but my let's see, my stool was Thorin, my floor tom was Gandalf.
you named your stool. He said.
I did, yeah. Uh, to hell with the devil, motherfucker. uh, Now, yeah, the lead singer, I could say which one. Now, guy. I could see that, but then their later guy, Luke. Yeah, I guess depends like which album or whatever you're talking about. But yeah, I was a fan of both. But yeah, yeah, but I could also see not being a fan. That's fair, especially on their first album. It's like he was really leaning into like the super like high pitched like Judas Priest, Rob Halford like range type of stuff. But on their like later album, like their second and third, like Psychosurgery and Pathogenic Ocular Dissonance, I think is you got a little more of like the lower like raspier register sounded good. But
Yeah, that's better. I don't like the shrill.
yeah, which I mean I was still a fan of it at the time, but yeah.
Although I do like shrill when it's like kind of the goblin voice. What's
Mm.
that? I don't know
Yeah,
what
the
to call it.
more
It's like a tighter vocal cord scream growl.
yeah, so yeah, because like him, like it's high pitched, but it was just like a like clean singing. But yeah, when you get
Yeah,
into the more like extreme metal genres, like your death metal, deathcore, black metal, where it's with a little distortion on it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. I like the inhuman sounding voices.
Oh wow, limited edition picture vinyl. Wow,
Damn.
that goes
What's
hard.
picture vinyl?
Or like the vinyl actually like it's not just like plain black or whatever, but it's actually got like
Oh, I
ambient
thought
light.
I was
Yeah.
thinking that's what it was. That sounds cool as hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which yet vinyl. So like the whole vinyl trend, that's something I never really got into because like I just don't have a record player.
I had a
And
thing. I had friends in college
yeah,
where there's one of them liked vinyl, but he liked getting like punk bands on vinyl. It's like I don't. It still sounds bad. Like I mean, I liked punk music, but like in general,
yeah,
it had a lo-fi sound.
yeah. To
So
me, like I think like punk is best on audio cassette. That seems to me like the vibe.
right, yeah.
Yeah,
Or it's like
but
on great speakers, it doesn't sound that good. Like when people are playing live, it's almost like the speakers need to have like a little distortion to
mhm,
make them sound like they're garage speakers or something.
right. Yeah, which is like that's one of my favorite things about like the black metal genre. If people are familiar with that, and oh yeah, it's like I remember those days. Like I was there, kind of 6,000 years ago, or whatever the fuck it was.
Damn,
But
we lived through like cassettes were like when I was born, cassettes were probably just like I was born in
yeah,
'78. So I've lived through like vinyl, cassettes, CDs, digital.
yeah. See, I even remember like being at my grandma's house and like listening to stuff on 8 track even. But and yeah, my parents had a record player growing up, and yeah, because I remember like before I'd really listened to too much on vinyl. Like grow up listening to like mainly like audio cassettes and then CDs. But then I remember like in my late teens, maybe early 20s or whatever, like my older brother got Alice Cooper's Schools Out on vinyl. So this was like one of the first things I listened to. So like we took it home, like put that on the record player, and like as soon as it started, we were like, "Yep, this is how this was intended." So that was that was cool. But yeah, the one vinyl I have is from the, if you can believe it, Christian black metal band Ancestor, their Martyrium album they did on a special like limited like green vinyl that I bought at a music festival where I saw them. But yeah, I still have it somewhere, but like never listened to it because I don't have a vinyl, like a turntable. But yeah, 8 track. It was mostly like little kids like fairy tale type stuff, but yeah, but yeah, really like the main thing is it's like anymore like really the most time I listen to the music is in my car, and like my car doesn't have a record player. So,
Yeah, I
and
that's an
yeah.
autistic thing for me lately. Since I don't drive, I just started
Ooh.
driving this morning again. That's a big deal.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. Nice.
yeah, I
Yeah. For
drove
people who
to.
don't know the backstory, like backstory,
Yeah,
yeah, Matt had to have back surgery recently, like herniated disc and all kind. It was a whole thing.
I'm
So
getting my strength back, and
nice.
yeah, it's good. So I realized a few days ago actually that I haven't been listening to much music at all, and it's because I always listened to it when I was driving, and so like that's my music
Ah,
time. It's listening at home is
yeah.
uncomfortable because it's not music time, even though I really like music. I don't,
Ooh.
yeah,
Yeah. Same. So Res albums. Is that Resurrection Band or is this a different Res?
that sounds like it would probably be a Christian
Yeah.
band.
Oh yeah. But so but yeah, I would kind of have similar thing, because like working from home, like obviously don't drive those days, but especially now like my kids are off of school for summer, like yeah, I'm really not driving much. So I've started doing kind of have to be like more intentional about like listening to music like while I'm at home. So yeah,
It's such a weird struggle.
I know, right? Yeah, because okay, so this is what like for people like so speaking of like autism and stuff and like executive function or dysfunction as the case may be, because again like just think of anything you do just like normally that you just kind of take for granted, like oh I want to do a thing so I just do the thing. Okay, for like more like neurodivergent people, like it is like way more complicated than that because everything is not just the thing. There are like so many steps, especially when you add things like pathological demand avoidance and like executive dysfunction. So the way like so a lot of times, so executive function is like basically your brain's ability to kind of well be an executive and get you to actually do shit. So a lot of times people with executive dysfunction, it can come across a lot like laziness, like because they're just not doing stuff. But the best explanation I've heard, like the difference is, okay, laziness is when you just don't want to do. It's basically when you can't do things that you need to do, but you just don't want to do. Like that's maybe if you want to say like that's laziness. But executive dysfunction is like you can't even do the things that you want to do. Like so,
Yeah.
that's kind of the difference there. So yeah, things like that, like listening to music at home. It's like, yeah, that's something I could do like anytime, but my brain is just like, that sounds like a lot of steps. Like, okay, I gotta go to my phone, pull up, my music app, figure out, okay, do I want to listen to an album? Do I want to listen to a playlist? Do I want to make a new playlist for whatever I'm feeling right now? And then I got to find my Bluetooth speaker because listening to it just out of my phone is shit. Or and then I got to like sync it up and turn it like, so it's this whole thing.
And
But
and all those steps, because you're trying to get yourself to do something your brain is avoiding. Each one of those steps kind of uses up some of your executive function. And so by the time you get to
right,
what you're trying to do, you have your tank is sometimes almost empty, and it's
right.
a whole thing
So it's so much easier to just like doom scroll on Facebook or just like turn on Elden Ring and or
for the
whatever.
dopamine, because sometimes you need a dopamine hit to
Right.
do things you don't want to do.
Right. Yeah. So okay. So Daniel here used to have a combo record player, 8-track player.
What?
Sit there, put the tapes in just to push the skip button and make them go click, click, click. I just wasn't getting that
That's a
feedback.
satisfying noise, though. Like that
Mm-hmm.
sound when you put in a cassette in the car, where to go chunk, like where
Yes.
you knew for sure your tape was in there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So Daniel with another good point. Also, like answer this to your comfort level, but I'm like, you seem to me like you do, but like, let me know if you identify as any kind of neurodivergence because it seems like you understand us if you aren't one of
I think
us,
he said in the
which I
past
appreciate.
that he is,
Okay.
or
Well,
maybe
cool.
he didn't say, but it was like super obvious, and we just decided he was.
It's hard to tell sometimes. But yeah, the demand avoidance isn't out of laziness or wanting to avoid responsibility, but more to do with angst and also the potential of a conflict triggering fight or flight. And it gets tiresome. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
Like the different levels of demands trigger your fight or flight to different degrees. Um,
Mm-hmm.
God, it's really bad. It sucks sometimes when you're like, I want to do. Somebody's like, why can't you do this good thing for me? Especially in like a relationship. Um,
Right. Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I want to, but now that you asked me to, and now I can't. And you just got to wait until now it's
Yeah.
my idea. And they're like, you jerk. And I'm like, I'm not being a jerk. It's like I literally can't get it to happen.
Right. I'm. Hey, trust me, I'm mad at me too. So I feel you. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember stuff from growing up. Yeah, that
Yeah.
whole thing of like attributing your neurodivergent quirks to a character flaw. Uh,
Oh.
that
Yeah.
is rough growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is like one of those reasons I'm especially glad like I'm out of religion now because like that added a whole nother layer. Like, okay, it's not just a character flaw; it's actually sinful now that
I
you're
didn't
not doing
realize
that.
how
Like,
exhausting that
oh,
was until I was out. Like as much as I
right.
got like uh, um, good things out of being involved in that giant like men's prayer thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a lot of masking I did, uh, and I didn't realize how much I was doing it in order to fit in there and to get the benefits and stuff. Because when I started being myself, they didn't want me back.
Right. Yeah. See, I had the convenience of once I started being myself, I didn't want to be back myself. So whether they wanted me or not never became an issue.
Yeah, it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah. Well, because you were a lot more heavily involved in like for a lot longer than I was.
It
So
was also
yeah.
the only time in my entire life where I was able to have acquaintances and friendships with that many people. Um, and it was because for the interactions, there were like rules to how things were done, like for the praying, but also like interactions with each other. There was kind of like a culture and a structure. Um, And so that was really great where I didn't need to, it wasn't on me. I had something to fall back on. I was like, oh, this is how this group peoples. I can do that thing. But if I have to people
Hmm.
on my own without a structure,
Yeah.
that's more challenging.
Right. Okay, so this sounds epic. So Daniel says, I was like the Ferris Bueller of demand avoidance in high school. One year I skipped 60 days, but didn't do it all at once. Parents didn't even know until the guidance counselor told them. Like,
Nice. That's epic.
wow.
I didn't know that
Yeah,
was
I
even
mean,
possible. The school I went to, if you skipped, like they knew like that day.
yeah, I went to a pretty small high school. Um,
I did not. Ours was
but yeah.
1,200 kids.
Yeah, see, I had, I don't know what the whole high school was. I only know like in my class, it was only about like 130 ish. So I
That's
went to a
crazy.
like, well, I went to a private Christian high school. So yeah,
Yeah, I
that's a
know,
whole
but like
thing.
that's I don't even know what that would be
That's
like where
also why
you kind of know everybody.
yeah, that's also like going to a private Christian high school, very conservative. That's also why I don't actually understand biology, specifically evolution. Uh, but anyway,
It's good stuff,
YouTube
that
is,
evolution.
I know, right? Um, well, and still graduated in time. Well,
I Speaking of things that probably like it's weird they worked out that way. Were you like you were able to graduate on time with the 60 days and everything. Uh, I I got a passing grade in German 4. I don't know how that happened because I had a real homework problem in that class.
hmm,
Like my brain kept forgetting we had homework, but we routinely had homework, and I kept forgetting to do it
hmm,
all the time. It looked like I was doing it on
yep.
purpose. And then I had another class that was I think pre-calculus, and I got like a C in that class, and it was a D minus. I felt a D minus coming, and it should have happened. It didn't. So maybe when like teachers can tell you're autistic, but you don't know it, they give you like a pity grade.
Yeah, I think that was definitely my physics teacher in high school. It was a combination of like literally one of the best teachers I've ever had, but then also one of the nicest human beings to possibly ever live. That's the only reason I did not flunk that class. Yeah, but yeah, my demand avoidance. I think that really showed up in a couple of times in college. First was so like I was like undecided for a while in college. Like I didn't actually start my major, I think, until like my third year. but But I remember my first year when I was just like taking just a bunch of random stuff to try to figure out what I wanted to do. I ended up taking a geology class, and I remember for like the final like presentation. I remember we were doing like we had to put together a report or something, do a in class presentation on like volcanoes or something. We each had to like pick a different one, but doing the presentation. So this is the back in the days of like overhead projectors. And so like part of the assignment was we had to like not just put the presentation together, but then also like go down to like the library or whatever where they could actually make overhead transparencies for you. And to me, like, well, that sounds like a whole thing I don't understand and don't want to do. So, like, I literally, before doing it, I just looked and like, I could actually figure out, okay, if I literally just don't even do this report and don't show up for class, what is my grade going to be? And it was still going to be a C. So I was like, fuck it. I don't care. So,
Excellent.
but then the next one was because also, like, even once I did decide a major, I studied electronic media. But I was actually for a while was considering getting a German studies minor because I just really liked German for whatever reason. Turns out that was apparently one of my special interests back in the time. Probably largely because I was really into Rammstein. Speaking of music, but I remember it essentially came down to one night. So I think it was my second year of like studying German. I was thinking like just German 201 or whatever it was. And I remember it was like a Sunday night, like for class the next day. The choice basically came down to it's like, okay, do I feel like actually doing my German homework tonight, or do I just want to drop the class and say screw it to the whole German studies minor? And I ended up just dropping the class because like it was a Sunday night and I didn't feel like doing my German homework, so I just jettisoned the whole thing. So
I have no idea what
Oh,
my grades were in college. Now that I think about it,
let's see. So apparently Daniel here didn't get any pity grades. I did all the makeup work I missed so I wouldn't get expelled or get held back. I wanted to get the fuck out of that place. I had much relate.
yeah, I don't
Um,
understand how people have like all these positive memories of high school and they're like still friends with all their friends. And like I I went to my high school reunion. I got too drunk there. I went
ah,
there and I realized it's like when you realize you're autistic, but like you haven't yet.
yeah, yeah. It's like
you go
I
face
think
to
I went.
face with who you are even more, but you're like, I don't have a name for that. That's what happened.
Yeah, I think like from high school, I think I still talked to like two people from high school. But I remember going to I think it was my 10-year reunion, and like neither of them were there. So I was like, why am I here? Like I don't talk to any of these people. But yeah, reminds me of another domain avoidance. Had a science project due, picked Jupiter, did it all the night before, last minute, stayed up all night and got an
That's
A
how you
on it.
do
Same with English.
it.
I mean, like literally in college, like every research paper I ever wrote was the night before. The one exception was there was one day I had two papers due. So I think it was like on a so let's say it was on a Wednesday. I did one paper on Monday, like completely, like legit the entire thing, even starting from starting the research and putting the outline together and everything. I did one of them all the way on Monday, did the other one all the way on Tuesday. It got to the point where I remember the very last research paper I ever did in college. I said, okay, I need to start that tonight. Like I said, including like from scratch, like even literally just starting the research on it. It was like, I'll start it tonight. But first, I'm going to watch Late Night with Conan O'Brien. So I literally started the paper at like 1:30 in the morning the day it was due. And it almost got to the point where that was like my ritual. Like I enjoyed doing it that way. Like I would like just sit down at my desk with my like gallon jug of Arizona green tea and huge bag of Skittles. Like that was my thing.
You power through. Yeah.
Yep, and I would stay up till like 5 or 6 in the morning, and also when I was writing my papers, there was always by like word count or whatever. So I would just keep writing, and then as soon as I got to the workout, no matter where I was in the paper, as soon as I hit the word count, I was like, all right, stop conclusion paragraph. Just done. And I got like A's or B's on every single fucking paper. So, oh, in the very brief time you did have Facebook, oh man, what's that like? There were people from school trying to add me. Like I was like, no, go away. Yeah, same with me. Like there have been so many people like from high school I ended up unfriending because after a while, like they were like super annoying. It's like, wait, I didn't even like you in high school. Why am I friends with you now? It's like you're a dick and a transphobe and yeah, all the annoying things. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. I was little in high school.
Hmm. Well, I'm still little, so yeah, I was also little in high school.
Like I couldn't grow a beard till college.
Yeah, I didn't really start growing one until even after college. But
Yeah, I was a few years in. It was
all
like
right.
around the time I started doing the internship co-op thing for
Hmm.
the design school. Yeah,
Hmm.
that was fun. Worked at Parker Brothers, Milton Bradley near Boston. Star
Yeah.
Wars Episode 1 department. Because
Hmm.
that's how old I am.
Oh, you're very much like Paula Gia in that way.
Yeah, I was jealous, man. Um, he worked at ILM, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he worked like for George Lucas. Like he
Yeah,
was, yeah.
yeah. I worked for people who had visited ILM and brought me back a Lucasfilm hat, which is in the basement still. Looks dumb as
Hmm.
fuck. I never wore it. It's just like a trucker hat. It's like a fancy trucker hat.
Yeah. It just now hit me like maybe this is why we both like because like Paula Gia like forever has been like one of our favorite like YouTube channels, especially since like deconverting and like becoming atheist or whatever. But like, so you have that connection with him, but then I have the connection of like we're both cancer survivors. But what I what I totally respect about like his story, like I don't know if you're familiar with his. He hasn't really talked about his cancer story much, so I don't know how familiar you are with it.
I had forgotten
So
until you brought it
so
back up.
yeah, so where my version of the story is, I had cancer, like stage 4 cancer. This is about I think 4 years ago is when I had cancer. Yeah, 2021. And then I survived stage 4 cancer and then deconverted, which I guess a
Hmm.
lot of people found counterintuitive, which there's that part of me that kind of enjoys how counterintuitive that was. But he had the experience of deconverting and then going through cancer like without having that phase. So I'm like, I don't know which. It's like one of those things. Like I don't know like which is like more nonsensical or like was harder. It's like yeah, but yeah. In case Paul ever watches, props, dude. Um, yeah, Kip, tell Paul to watch. You're friends, right? So new Disney film with George Lucas in the background with sack of cash, waves hand. This is not the sellout you're looking for. Move along.
Yeah, I think he didn't anticipate what a shit show that was going to be. Uh,
Fuck.
yeah, he presented a his idea for what the next trilogy would be, and it was very different than what they did. And they basically heard him out completely, and then were just did none of it. uh, I don't know if the fans would have liked it. Luke was more of a like a yogi who was like very spiritual, very um, peaceful,
Mm.
probably but super powerful.
Mm.
So I don't know. It would have been an interesting exploration of like what Luke is like as he goes deeper into the Force and into the the religion. Doesn't sound like a great
Right.
series of movies.
Yeah. We'll see. But all right. So good point here from Daniel. Yeah, if there is a God, he didn't check his work before he released it from the lab. I mean, do you think he'd have caught the whole cellular mutation into cancer thing? He's a shoddy craftsman. Uh, I could go on and have
I,
on this. I mean, so because like my particular cancer, it was a melanoma. You can still see my nice little crater. That's where the primary tumor was, and then it ended up spreading like literally everywhere through my entire abdomen, even like down to my left leg and like in my heart and both lungs. Like it was a whole thing. Um, but that's where I keep going back with people who try to argue things like intelligent design or like the argument from fine tuning. It's like, well, apparently God fine tuned everything so well that our source of light gives my skin cancer that literally would have killed me had it not been for man-made pharmaceutical chemicals from a lab or whatever. But yeah, it's like because one of the things I heard from people is like, oh well, but God put all these protections in place, like within the atmosphere, like with the ozone and like things that are supposed to protect us from like the UV rays, but like with our human pollution, like we kind of fucked it up. It's like, okay, when people talk about like all the protections that God apparently put around the Earth from things in space, and it's like, okay, well, who put all those dangerous things in space then? It's like maybe if he really wanted to protect us, he just wouldn't have made things so dangerous to begin with that he would have needed to put
well,
protections in place. But what do I know?
maybe Yahweh is just Earth God, and he didn't make it everything else, right?
Mm,
Maybe he's just one of the gods. I mean, originally
yeah,
he was.
yeah. See, because like this is why like omnibenevolent and omniscient, or like the triomni, whatever, monotheism makes no sense. Like the only things that make sense is if God has some kind of limitations on any of those attributes or polytheism. Those are really the only versions that make like any sense to me. But yeah, guess they didn't get the memo about the big ass hole in the ozone layer, or the fact that you could even put a hole in the ozone layer. I mean, if God designed the ozone layer, you think he would have made it a little stronger than what he did, and like us just like driving SUVs and using aerosols would have fucked it up. But oh well. That's what do I know? I'm just some fallible human. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
had a thought before. Then I had to talk to my boy. So I don't remember what I was going to say. Something about outer
Well,
space
here,
and making things, and
maybe Daniel here will jog your memory. So what Matt's saying is God's just a district manager, and we need to call corporate.
I think. All right, okay. I have a theory that this is my theory. It's possible people have been interacting with something, but that something isn't God. Because I'm a I'm a nerd about like the alien UFO stuff,
Oh yeah. What was it?
and
UAP? Is that
yeah,
the acronym?
yeah,
Yeah.
unidentified aerial phenomenon. Because they're
Mhm.
not. Well, it's clear that some of them are not craft. They're like translucent orbs.
All right. No, but no. Please continue. But before you continue, like, so I'm basically on third drink now, but I'm learning because I'm getting older. Three drinks like kind of fuck me up for the next morning. So I've been smart. I've actually gotten back into the whole non-alcoholic
There you go.
beer thing from back in my like when I still was on like immunotherapy for like cancer treatment and I wasn't supposed to drink very much. So I found a new one that I actually like. It's Sierra Nevada's Trail Pass Hazy IPA because I found
It's not
out,
alcoholic.
yeah,
I didn't know they had one.
but yeah, they have a regular Trail Pass IPA, but this is I only saw this one recently. It's the hazy version. So for people out there who are interested at all in non-alcoholic beers, I found the best style that translates well into a non-alcoholic version is probably hazy IPAs because
They got a lot of flavor.
right because like with the hops, like for people who know like how beer works and like where the alcohol comes from, it more comes from the malt and like the sugar in that. So like hops like don't contribute anything to alcohol. So like IPA is like, all right, just load it up with hops. Still has tons of flavor or whatever. But also with it being a hazy IPA, that also gives it a little more body to it. So
Right. Okay. So it doesn't
but
have that
this time, like,
wateriness.
but man, like so this is the second one of these I've had, and like I remember the first time I opened one of these, I think it was like last night when I tried one. Like you crack the can and like take a whiff, like it straight up just smells like weed.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It is so good, but the actual like taste of it is really more on kind of like the like fruity, juicy end.
Well, see, that's a weird thing.
So
There
yeah,
are fruity, juicy strains. Um,
mm,
specifically like berry, like
mm,
generic purple berry smell.
mm.
Uh, yeah, some of them have like a really fruity smell.
Interesting. But yeah, so if anyone out there is looking for a good non-alcoholic beer, like I said, I recommend like going the hazy IPA route. Athletic Brewing Company, like they only make non-alcoholic beers. Their hazy IPA is really good. Um, BrewDog, like has a hazy like non-alcoholic version. That's good. But
My weed smells
whoa,
like weed too.
whoa,
Well,
what a coincidence!
we were hanging out with Emily and Chris, and
Yeah,
I said, "Here, smell this," and I had like a little jar open, and you're like, "It smells like hops." I didn't know how you smelled hops from that because to me it smelled like it smelled like berry weed. And you're like, smells like hops," and I was like, "Is this why it doesn't affect you? Like, are you just does your
that could
body
be.
just think it's hops?"
Yeah, which also like backstory, like more of my lore, like Matt and Chris and Emily and my other friend Richard, like so many people have like tried to get me high, but apparently, except for this one time, which was so weird, like we just like if it has an effect on me at all, it literally just makes me kind of tired. Like I would actually call it more akin to feeling drunk than high, if anything. Except for this one time. where I guess I took enough, very weak, but still took enough amount, a large amount of them, these gummies that I had. Then combined that with watching the Chrysalis video from the band Mefarash, which is a like Swedish kind of like black metal ish kind of band. But the music video is literally just like 8 minutes, and it's just like an extreme close up on an eye, just like blinking and looking around the whole time.
And
I mean,
sometimes it
it's
moves in with the rhythm where the melody changes.
yeah, but and also like the song itself is fucking amazing, but yeah, that was like the one time, and this was like months ago, and I have yet to replicate that since. Like, but God bless you, y'all keep trying, and I appreciate you. That was when we were hanging out with Emily and Chris last time, and like they were passing around a joint, and they passed it to me. I was like, I don't know, I'm afraid it'll be wasted on me, and I so appreciated. Like Chris said, like, oh, it's never wasted on you, and that meant a lot. So thank you, Chris, if you're still watching. I mean, you started from the beginning, so I'm assuming you're not, because like who does that? You know.
Yeah,
But anyway,
it's getting late and long.
yeah. But I mean, honestly, like we're still under 3 hours, which for us is kind of short. But yeah,
That's true. Just
because
like Trump has not done anything. He's apparently, man, they're gonna call his bluff. Iran has no incentive to take what. Yeah, they just don't have any incentive to do a deal, because the deal is give up all of your nuclear program, including your nuclear power. Well, unless they buy it from someone else, they can't make it themselves. They can't make the fuel themselves.
Now, can you confirm this claim? Matt smoked so much his eyes have built up a tolerance to Visine.
It's not true. No, it does work. Here's the thing. I have a low tolerance in general to like medications of any kind. Like I would take a really low dose of methylphenidate, Ritalin. Yeah, so I'm really not I'm really not smoking all that much, which is why I had that really bad experience after that concert we were at, because I didn't realize how much I had used from my vape pen, and then they were passing around a joint, and you can get a lot pretty quickly if you take a big draw on the joint.
Right.
And I had already had at least 2 beers, I think. So the combination was,
yeah.
I think, doing the autistic version of freaking out, which meant I just sat in one place and didn't do anything.
Right.
Except look like I was about to lose it. Everything in my stomach.
Right. Yeah. Just lose all the things. Yeah. I remember that. But it was all right. We had you. So.
Yeah.
So Iran's got a defense alliance with China and Russia. Donnie can't serve two masters.
Yeah. I just don't know how this goes in, well, his or our favor if he keeps pushing.
Right.
Pakistan already volunteered to retaliate, which is brilliant, because now it's like guaranteed that if they use the bomb that he was probably going to use, then they're starting a world war. Like they up the stakes to the point where like he'll probably do something performative, so his base thinks he did an amazing thing. He's all show. The dude's all show.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was something I mentioned.
I mean, except for the cruelty. But that's like part of the show.
Yeah. I think it's something I mentioned last week when we were talking about like the government's responses at that time, specifically to the protests and everything going on in LA. It's like like really, it's hard for me to tell, and I really doubt that Trump really has any principles outside of he just wants power, and he found allies in the Republicans, like who want the whole thing, like the whole Project 2025 and like all that, like culture war bullshit. It's like because honestly, like I don't know how much Trump himself really actually cares about transgenderism or like immigrants or like any of this stuff. I think,
Oh, he cares about immigrants. That's like the only thing he's really been trying to do.
yeah, but I wonder how much of is that like how much does he actually personally have a problem with immigrants, or how much of it is like, well, me being tough on this makes like all like these Republicans start like pitching pence in their pants and they want to give me more money and power, so that's the thing I'll hammer on.
I
So
think so.
yeah,
Here's what it has looked like to me, where he doesn't like that America is losing its whiteness. He's very upset about that.
yeah,
But he employed a lot of illegal immigrants um, at
hmm,
building his various properties. Probably has a lot
yeah,
of them on his cleaning staff, um, at his different clubs and stuff and hotels. Uh,
yeah,
so he enjoyed the benefits of that because if you don't pay your illegal immigrant workforce in construction, like what are they going to do? They have no legal recourse. Um, or if you
yeah,
don't pay them overtime, you stiff them here and there on hours. They have no recourse. Um, so I think he wants a whiter country, but he also wants his cheap workers. He wants a supply of cheap workers for his people, his rich people, to be able to do things, but also wants things to be whiter. Those you can't really do that because we don't have enough people to do the jobs we need done.
yeah.
Um,
Hmm, hmm,
most of the world is not white, so
right.
needing immigrants, like most of them are not going to be white. It's just
Well, but see, that's why we got to take all these people from South Africa who are
the poor Afrikaners.
right. So, all right. So I'm going to put this up there, but I'll be honest, I don't recognize like half of these names, or even if I recognize them, I know JD Vance. I don't know who
Yarvin is
Curtis Yarvin.
terrible. Um,
Okay, and I
he's
know
just
I've heard of Peter Thiel, but I can't remember exactly
yeah.
who he is.
Peter Thiel is I don't know. He might be an alien. I mean, I don't even think autistic people claim him. You watch him
Damn, you
talk
know
and
it's
you're
bad
like,
then.
I'm pretty sure he's autistic, but like, if an alien was autistic, uh, no, Yarvin is kind of a pseudo intellectual, a pseudo philosopher. He is
Hmm.
not very smart, but says a lot of things that rich bigots like to hear. Um,
Hmm.
they hear it as justification for stuff they already want to do. Uh, he it's like a techno dystopia, uh, with like hierarchy of races and classes. It's okay. Remember, like all the dystopian sci-fi stuff that you've ever seen or heard of, like that future world. Um, they think that's good. Like the
Huh.
terrible future. They're like,
Okay.
wait, no, that if they just had done this one thing, if they had tweaked it, or if I had been in charge, that
Hmm.
dystopia wouldn't have happened. It would be perfect. But they forget that's
Hmm.
how that was
Hmm.
built in that world. People had people with what they thought were good intentions or just selfish intentions, and that's just what it created.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're he's a bad dude. He's
Cool.
not worth listening to. He's just
Okay.
when you hear him talk, you're like, why is anybody listening to you?
Uh. Yay.
Yay,
Well,
Christian nationalism. Yay. I mean, when has that ever been a problem?
except for every fucking time.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's what the Catholic Church was in Europe for a long time. They were
Yeah.
a like nation force. They
Right.
sort of had control over a lot of Europe, and that went super well. When the Muslims were like, "Hey, you have nice stuff. We want nice stuff. Can we come live where your nice stuff is? We'll work for you." Uh, no, actually, they might have come in and tried to conquer it. Remember, they did try to conquer it at one
Yeah.
point. I don't know if that was like their initial goal, or they just got here and they were like, "Fuck all you white people."
I
We put
mean,
an algebra.
fair.
What'd you guys
Yeah.
do? You guys were trying to figure out how to be clean.
That's fair. All right. Well,
Surely we win this fight.
oh man. So, all right. Well, I think my brain's nearing the end of usefulness, and I have to pee. So, but yeah. So now the debate is like, were we far enough off topic that I'm going to have to go back and like adjust the show description, or do I just say fuck it? Who watches this anyway? But
I don't know. Dealer's choice.
yeah, true. But I mean, plenty of people watch us, and we appreciate all of you. You're all fantastic. But seriously though, thanks for everyone who was like hanging out with us tonight. This was, I think that really helped the show because honestly, like going into tonight, like I think both me and Matt, and like even like today as we were talking about what are we going to talk about, at least on my end, it felt like I don't know if either of us really know what we're going to talk about tonight. If this felt like it was going to be we're just going to kind of just go. So it was cool to have like everyone like interacting and like I guess helping keep the show going. And so
remember when we would pre-record and we would name the episode? It would be like 3 truths and a lie or something.
yeah. Yeah, back in the three
about.
beer gospel podcast days. Yeah, that was fun. Like
We never told anybody that, and nobody asked.
no, we did mention it in.
Oh, did we?
I think it was like the 5th or 6th episode because I named. I think it was episode 6. It was okay. So episode 4 was like the big like I had just recovered from cancer. I think we might be atheists now episode. And then after that we in one recording we sat down and recorded like 3 episodes all at once or / we just talked for several hours and then later I chopped it up into 3 episodes kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
I think the middle one was when I was like I remember titling that one 2 truths, a lie, and Oxford commas. And I specifically left out the Oxford comma so that would be the lie. And I was so fucking proud of that. But yeah, that's what we do. Like we would have like the title for the show, and then we would have 3 things, and like 2 of those things would be just like random ass things we actually did talk about during the episode, but then one wasn't. But like they all sounded like equally ridiculous. So it was like,
yeah.
Which, because I remember like one of the options for one of the episodes was ghost penis, but that was one of the things we did talk about.
Yeah, it was because that's how Mary got pregnant.
Right.
God had a ghost penis.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think in one of the episodes we realized like God was like he wasn't just a hermaphrodite, but I think you had this whole illustration of him having basically a utility belt of all the various different genitalia that he could just swap between.
Yeah.
So
because if he's going to all these different planets, right, and if this is the same plan that happens on all the planets, there's like a virgin birth, and then he dies on a cross or some other shape or whatever their torture thing was at the time, and. Yeah, and then he's like, well, "How do you impregnate?" And then he's like, "Yeah, he had the utility belt of all the different
right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to. I don't think we have it linked on our YouTube page, but for people who follow us on Facebook, but yeah,
Phantom phallus.
That's a good one.
See that's the technical name. That's the one theologians use.
Yeah, that's what William Lane Craig always refers to it as. Yeah.
He's a phantom phallus. Can you be so neurotypical that you become autistic? I think that's where he landed. He does
That
not seem
tracks.
autistic. He's not a savant, that's for sure.
But that tracks, yeah. So, but for people who are curious, I know if you follow us on Facebook, I know like on our page there, because when we first started this show, most of our interaction was on the Facebook end, but over the past several months, it seems to be shifting more to YouTube, which is awesome. But I know on Facebook we have like as one of like the pinned posts. It's a link to our old Three Beer Gospel podcast. You can also find it on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other places. Just Three Beer Gospel. If anyone's curious, like what our old show was like. It started out as a like because we were both still Christian at the time, but like deconstructing. So our plan was this will be like a Christian deconstruction podcast where we talk about drinking beer because no one had ever done that before, especially not back in 2020.
No, we
But
knew people had done it. We didn't care.
I was being sarcastic.
Okay, but it made me sound bad.
Fair enough. But then I remember, but that was also like right before. So we started it. Actually, we didn't actually release it until 2021, and that was the year I got cancer, and then that's what made me kind of become atheist, and like you were kind of becoming atheist at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're both like, well, fuck, what do we do now? So yeah. So if anyone's curious what that was like, look up Three Beer Gospel on wherever fine podcasts are sold or for free, because who buys podcasts? That's dumb. Um, anyway, you'll probably recognize the intro music because we took it from that.
We should do a react to Three Beer Gospel, BS says.
Ooh.
That could be fun. We will laugh at it. We will laugh at ourselves.
Yeah, I see.
I
would
do that
say
now. Like if I re-listen to one that we just did a few days ago, I'll laugh.
Oh yeah, me too. But here's the thing. I think probably the best episodes for us to react to probably would have been episodes 2 and 3. But those are also the episodes where the audio quality is by far the worst because that's the one. Because those are the only two we actually had video for. Because I was like recording over like a Zoom or Google Chat or whatever. But I thought I was recording audio like your audio from like you. But apparently, what I was actually recording was you coming through the speakers on my laptop being picked up by my laptop mic. So I sounded kind of okay.
It's so funny because you went to school for that shit.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
No, it's really amusing to me. I mean,
it's amusing to me too, but yeah.
Okay, I'm not trying to put you down. It's just
no, go ahead. I deserve it.
I know it sounds like I'm putting you down, but like no, it is just funny to me.
And that's also why episode 1 doesn't actually exist, because when we recorded that one, we were doing it that method, but I had just like my Bluetooth earbuds in, so the recording only has my audio because you were only coming through my earbud, not through the laptop speaker.
That was when I was on my one person vacation when I was a stay-at-home dad, and I had just come back from the microbrewery, which is nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was where like 3 rounds of people sat next to me and then left. I talked to all of them.
Drove them all away.
And they're like, do you work here at one point? Because I knew a lot about the beer and I was like trying to help them out. And they're like, do you work here? And I'm like, no, I just know a lot about it. I just drink a lot of beer. And so then they thought it was weird that like I was like, I guess in their eyes, acting like I worked there. I'm like, no, I just know what that style of beer is and tastes like.
Yep. Oh, that was good. But because we talked about like
creepy. I don't know.
Because so we talked about releasing that episode that only had my audio, but like with you like redubbing yours or something.
Yeah.
But then we're like, that sounds like work. So we just
editing.
Yeah, so we just started like because like before that we recorded our like intro episodes. So it was like episode 0, but then we just went straight to episode 2 because we thought that was hilarious. But yeah,
Wait, was that the one where I was on? That wasn't when I was on vacation. Episode 1 wasn't on vacation, was it?
yeah, that was where you were on
Holy cow!
vacation.
I didn't realize there must have been a long gap in between those.
Yes, that was the other thing with that show. That was a problem. Like we would go like months without recording.
Yeah,
So
a lot of personal stuff in that very first episode, like
yeah,
our background stories, and
hmm
we got pretty drunk. You were more
yeah, I think
drunk than me.
yes, absolutely. But yeah, so that's a good episode for getting our stories up to that point, but also hearing us like podcasting for the first time and not really
Right, that can be painful.
like if you think we're awkward now, but but as far as our backstories, I'd say like I've told people about. So I did an episode like on this show, The Humanity, last summer called Doubting Tommy, which because like Matt was out that week, so I was like, well, I'll just take time to just like go into my story. So for people who are wanting, I guess, a better version of my backstory, yeah, look up our Doubting Tommy episode. I think it was from last July or something. But soon, hopefully, we'll have Matt finally do his solo episode.
Yeah, I
I
was
think,
waiting. I was waiting until I wasn't on any like nerve or muscle medicines because I didn't. I wanted to have.
yeah.
I want to make sure I had my full brain available.
Yeah, and if this is still the direction you were planning on going, I loved like the way you like kind of titled it, at least tentatively, it was something along the lines of like when you're autistic but God isn't. I was like, so if that's still where you're thinking of taking it, like I'm looking forward to that episode. So
Yeah, that and like you were saying, that's more of something like played out in a series of events. Like
mhm.
looking back, how much of my faith journey, um, he said with disdain, was
Right,
was influenced by being autistic and not knowing it, and trying to fit. Yeah, just trying
right,
to fit.
yeah. So yeah,
Also, women played an important role in me becoming a Christian and then advancing further into the Christianese. Uh,
mm, darn women. Yeah.
darn honeypots.
Yep, yep. So yeah, so I think next week we still maybe at least like with it being Pride Month, I think the plan was still to keep that episode kind of loosely Pride Month themed or whatever. Also, speaking of which, so the Cincinnati Pride Parade and Festival is not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, the 28th. Now I'm going to be there. Like Matt, I don't know if you.
Yeah, I should be able to be there.
Awesome. Even if I got to push your ass around in a wheelchair. So
No, I should be. Well, I don't know. I don't know how long I can stand. I can sit way longer than I can stand now.
mm,
Um, so maybe a wheelchair is a good idea.
cool.
Get some streamers on the wheelchair.
Nice.
On the handles,
Hey.
it would be a rent to the wheelchair, but maybe on the handles, like when you're a kid, there's like bike handle
Oh
streamers.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
we
The
put some
streamers.
on
Mm-hmm.
first.
Ooh, I'm down. So yeah, we're going there with a couple friends of ours. So yeah, if anyone's in the Cincinnati area wants to come hang out at Cincinnati Pride, yeah, we should be there.
I hear it's a pretty big
But
deal, even though we
yeah,
live in a conservative city.
yeah, and I'm also proud. Like the company I work for is in the parade, and they're maybe it helps that like it's actually an Italian based company, but they're like super like into like they still have their whole like they still have a DEI department, and they're like super like affirming of
Excellent.
that entire community and everything. So that's really cool. Like I'm proud. I work for IMED, which is a part of Luxottica Retail, if anyone's curious. But yeah, I'm super proud of them for that. They may or may not be proud of me admitting that on this show, but oh well.
So that good news about a major corporation that isn't backing down reminded me of other good news. There is a sentiment going around in the MAGA community right now where that after the parade, after the big protest, especially after the war with Iran thing, they're saying things like, "We almost had it. We almost had our Christian nationalist thing."
mm,
And so in some of their minds, they've lost it. like the turning point happened. It is happening right now, and there's kind of getting depressed and pissed at Trump because he blew it. Never would have been able to pull it off because you can't go backwards. History drifts to the left consistently.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like we should all just get together and talk about like where we're headed and just figure out the best way to get there. Like,
Yeah.
how do we,
Weird.
if we're going there, how do we just gradually get there instead of like
Right.
Werner Herzog, the thing that quote where America's
Yeah.
waking up just like Germany once did to the fact that a third of your population wants to kill another third while the other third watches. It's like
Mm-hmm.
fuck, and both, and we kind of have two extremes trying to end each other. Maybe
Yeah.
that's usually how it goes, but now I think the right is definitely trying to end the left more than the left is trying to end the right. We're trying to do ours with culture and voting,
Yeah.
but
Imagine that. Yeah.
the natural
So,
way.
yeah. All right. Well, I'm probably done.
So congratulations, we suck enough to not be going where we were headed.
Yay. All right. Well, so yeah. So yeah, next week, with being like the last week of Pride Month, may have some more Pride themed programming. As much as like tonight, kind of wasn't, at least as much as we planned. But yeah, we'll see where we are next week. But after that, definitely would like to get back into having some more guests on. So like BS, if you're still on, I know we've been talking about like you possibly being on the show sometime. Still think that would be really cool. Yeah, and others. I know we got a couple other people we've already had on. Like we'd love to get like people like Derek and Jimmy and Keith and all
Yep.
kinds of people back on, but also several people who we've never had on before and still plan on getting on. Or if anyone's watching, like if you're interested, at least reach out. I mean, like you don't. We're pretty much open to having just about anyone on, really. I mean, as long as you're into what we're talking about and willing to have conversations with us, we'll talk with you.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And don't try to hijack the conversation.
yeah, there's that. But
But
yeah. But other than that, yeah. Let's see. Any kind of anything in the way of like announcements or anything for the ending?
Not really. Just I thought it was really cool that was in LA at the Dodgers game. The national anthem was sung in Spanish, and it was
Yes.
not supposed to be.
Right.
But God bless it, that was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Made me say God bless it. What the fuck?
I know. This is what you're doing to us, people.
No, but I thought that was
Yeah.
an amazing protest thing to do,
Yeah.
and uplifting
Fucking
for
awesome.
everybody in LA who's
Mm-hmm.
feeling
Yes.
like
Because how?
they may never have a place in this country.
Right. Yeah. Because how dare someone in the city called Los Angeles speak Spanish or sing in Spanish? It's like
Yep.
I know. So, well, all right. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out. It was cool as always, interacting with the folks that are here. Yeah. Words. I am out of. So,
Well,
yeah. So, yeah. Remember all the things like comment, subscribe. Even if you're
we
watching later, feel free to drop your comments.
you should
Share it
probably
as
say
you
that
feel.
earlier too.
Yeah.
Normally,
Well, remember, no, I was doing my whole like smash that button.
I remember
and
we did that today. Yeah,
and
normally we don't.
fuck the bell or whatever I said. I don't know.
Fuck that
But
bell.
oh, and also we got to give shout outs to our like on our loose conglomerate like family network of podcasts. I know we've left links to their shows at some points, but yeah, our buddy Jimmy Ligon and the show Unreligious tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, same time. Then our buddies Derek Day and Aaron Tomlinson, kind of like, it's not really a new show. It's kind of like same show, different title, but also kind of a new show. The Gnostic Agnostic on Fridays. I think it's also at 8 Eastern.
Sounds
But I don't
really
know.
interesting.
It's really cool. They've done a couple, I think 1 or 2 episodes so far in the new format. It's been really cool. So
Yeah,
definitely
I think I'm
check
gonna
that
go
out.
back and watch those.
Yeah, so look up Derek Day and or Aaron Tomlinson on the YouTube and Facebook. Not like we've had all these guys as guests on previous episodes, so if you want, just go back in our show catalog and look them up.
Derek Day is formerly of Heretic Happy Hour.
Yes, really cool dude. And actually, basically the reason we have this show now. So always super appreciative of him and cool dude.
Yeah, we use his login to
Yeah,
do this.
yeah. So yeah, look up those guys. But yeah, also with our stuff, like I said, like, comment, subscribe, share, whatever you feel comfortable, however you feel comfortable. We appreciate. Like I said, we want to get that 50th subscriber so we can celebrate it once we have 100. So or whatever.
Yeah, more
we're planning on
viewers would
doing.
be good too.
Yeah. I mean,
Subscribers are great though.
yeah.
Whatever. I think that's usually how that ratio goes, though. There's like more people subscribed than watching, typically.
Yeah, that happens. But
all right.
Yeah, but even if you're watching later, like I said, still like leave a comment. I try to check back like periodically to look for notifications and like new comments on videos and stuff. But yeah, I should have, like I said, also like we're live every Wednesday. I also been doing like just a little shorter video every Sunday, just about like random thoughts I have about like Christianity and stuff. So those have been fun. Those seem like get some good reaction on those as well. So yeah, all right. Well, that's all I got. So Matt, if you got anything else, otherwise, take us out.
May your things and stuff be forever with your people.
And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.